Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are familiar with it, if you are new to the channel, welcome to the Crew 2 family, the Crew 2 community, whatever you want to call it. In this stream/video, we're gonna go over a bit of the features of this game for sorta the Crew 2 for newbies. I have noticed that recently with Black Friday promotions and also a couple of weeks ago with some summer promotions, quite a lot of new players came into the game. I've also noticed on my YouTube channel that, going by several comments, that there are quite some new players about and they don't always know what to go and where to do in this game, more or less. So we're going to go over a few aspects of it. I will also, if you're watching this within the first 2 weeks that I post this video on my YouTube channel, I also advise you to watch it on Twitch live. You can find the link for my Twitch channel in the description of the video, because throughout this stream I will post some links which might help you get a bit more familiar with the game if you are new to it. As you can see here, my name is RaceMasterDave. I am from Belgium, for those wondering. And we'll go over this. First of all, this game is the Crew. That also means that obviously there is a official website where you can find already all kind of information that might help you guys out if you are new to the game. That is the first link that I will post in the chat. The official website of the Crew, there you can find all kind of stuff. At the moment the game is called the Crew 2 Blazing Shot. Occasionally it changes from name depending on updates and such. In the beginning it was just the Crew 2, then after a while it was the Crew 2 Hotshots, and nowadays it's since the November update it's called the Crew 2 Blazing Shots. Hello Mr. Vellister. If you come into this game, you're gonna get some sort of tutorial race, which more or less already gets you familiar with the vehicles that are in this game, meaning road vehicles, water vehicles, and airplanes as well. And that's some sort of tutorial race that you go through, and then, if I am not mistaken, it opens for you the map. If you open the map, in the beginning you will find all kind of stuff on there, but definitely not all of these, because these are all activities and races that you will find throughout the game. What you will see if you're new to the game is 4 headquarters, each of a different color, and they all represent a different family. The yellow headquarters, which is called the Spot, will represent the street family, and that means you will find street race there, you will find drift cars, you will find drag and hypercar. Over here you find base camp, which is the off-road headquarters. There you will find motocross and rallycross and rally raid, and also hovercrafts. Over here we have the barn, which is the pink headquarters, representing the freestyle family. There you will find monster truck, aerobatic planes, jet sprint boats, and also demolition derby vehicles. And over here the blue headquarters is the pro racing family. It's called the Pit, and there you will find touring cars, power boats, air race planes, and also Alpha GP, which more or less are Formula 1 cars. We will take a look on all these disciplines in a second. If we go into one of those headquarters, if I'm not mistaken, if you're new to the game, you go towards the Spot, you can enter there, and all of these headquarters more or less look similar. Sort of like this, and there are a few things that you can find in here. The same goes in the off-road, freestyle and pro racing headquarters. They might look a little bit different. We will pay a visit on all 4 of them. And this is also at the same time a way of being able to purchase a vehicle. The first time you're gonna have to go to street race, and they will provide you with, if I'm not mistaken, 3 starter cars, and you have to pick one. So that is already a reason why you should visit the 4 headquarters, because in each of them you will get a free vehicle. If I'm not mistaken, you get the Mazda MX-5, the Audi TT RS, and the Ford Mustang. An American car, a European car, and a Japanese car. And one of those three you need to pick as your starter's vehicle. That's what you can do here. Afterwards, later when you're in the game, you can always come back here and buy new vehicles. You can also go into the menu, go into the catalog, select one of the vehicles that you find here, and then it will automatically put you in the headquarters, because you always have to go to the headquarters to buy the vehicle. So we have street race, here we find drift cars, you have drag cars, and you have the hypercars here in the street family. In all of the headquarters you will also find a yellow tent, where it's sort of the shop. You can do some stuff there. Sometimes you will find bundles related to the summit, which is in a way a competitive format within the game. You find some other promotional, like now for instance they have an Italian touring car bundle, which have the Gallardo and the 458 Italia in it. You can get it with some discount, so always easy to have a look around here. There are certain vanity items available as well, but those you can only buy with crew credits. Crew credits is next to bucks. The bucks is more or less the in-game currency. The crew credits is more of the elite currency. You can buy that with real money, you can buy packages of these things, but you can also earn them. We will take a look at that, how to earn them in a second. Next to that, you will find over here also some spare parts in case you want to buy some of those packages. Also, these can be earned by just scrapping some old parts or something like that. I would advise you not to worry about it in the beginning, especially about these things. Has to do with recalibration, we will come back to that later. In case you are really into vanity and you want to get all of the vanity or whatever, you can always buy crew credit packs, which are available for real dollars, as you can see, depending on the amount that you want to get. That is all up to you. You do not need to buy these things. As I said, you can earn them, and that is in the orange bus. Also that you will find in the 4 headquarters, and there you will find some contracts. Live contracts, at this moment I don't have any available, but normally you have one a day that shows up here. That is some skill test or something that you need to do. It can go three ways. You can get an easy contract, which gives you 1500 crew credits. You can go a bit medium, it's 2500. And you can get the hard ones, which are 5000. They are not that hard to do, it takes a bit more time and effort to get the 5000 than, for instance, a 1500 one. I have done, you can stack them up to 3 contracts. So you can do this every day, 1 contract, or you can just let them stack up and do it every 3 days or so. Then it's fine, and you can earn yourself that way some credits, which you can use for instance for future content. It might be something that you're gonna need, and also to buy vanity items and such in the yellow tent over there. What else do you find in the headquarters is a summit screen, and you can enter that, which is sort of the competition. We will come back to that later. Next to that you will find a mailbox. In case you earn some parts out there on the map, you're supposed to pick them up. If you don't pick them up, they might send the parts to your mailbox, and that is that black container thing here in headquarters. You can go in there. If you want some parts, you will find them here, and you will be able to collect them here and put them on your car or whatever it is. Hello, perfection. So that is that, and then you can also go upstairs, at least in this headquarters, and there you will find the PvP. PvP is sort of the multiplayer racing. Again, we'll post a quick link to what it actually is. In the game it's called Live Battle, as I just posted in the chat there. And that is this tent here. You can go in there, and then you will find 2 playlists. Usually the one on the left is always available. It contains street racing and hypercar. It has no collisions, and you can register and find a lobby and then just race. You can vote on certain disciplines. The other playlist, you can also register for that one. You can always click on details to see what is actually in there. In this case, it's some freestyle stuff from one of the members of the community who has put together this playlist. You can always play these things if you want to get some parts, for instance. That sort is for the street racing family. You will find also a McLaren P1 here, and that is if you go through the whole street racing campaign, eventually you will be able to challenge Theo, and once you do that, you can, if you win, if you beat him, you can pick up this car here in HQ. That is for the street racing family. If we go and move to the off-road family, which is over here, also sort of similar. Also a headquarters, this more representing the off-road family, obviously. Over here, also here, if you come here the first time, you will be able to pick up a, if I'm not mistaken, a buggy or something that you get. If I can find it, that is. Yeah, I think it is this thing. You can just pick it up. They give you a free vehicle, also in the off-road family to play around in. So another reason why you should visit at least all the 4 new headquarters as a new player. Motocross as well and rallycross as well, and then later on with an update they also brought hovercrafts into this. Other than that, also here you more or less find similar stuff. You also find the yellow shop tent, you find the orange bunch where you can do your daily contracts, the mailbox as well, and also the summit. So also from this headquarters you can more or less start everything up. If you go through the off-road family and you do all the activities, eventually you will be able to challenge Tuck. If you beat him, you're gonna get this thing over here. This is not a discipline, this is just a vehicle that you can win and fly around in eventually, but it's not a discipline that you can upgrade or something. But you can pick it up, more or less. Moving to the Born. There it is. Also here in this family, freestyle, sort of similar. You can also find, hello Roy, you can also here find 4 different disciplines. Demolition Derby, if you want to buy one of those cars, you'll find it here. Aerobatic planes, monster trucks and jet sprint boats. Next to that, similar as in the other headquarters, yellow tent, orange bus, a mailbox and the summit screen. Also here you will be able to find all that. If I'm not mistaken, the first time you come here you get a plane. More specifically, I think the Zivco Edge 540. That is the plane that you get from the game. So also here, first time you do not need to buy a plane, you will get it. Which already means that you have a starter's car, you have an off-road car, you will also have a plane. The only thing that's missing is something for the water, but that will come in a second. If you play around all of this freestyle stuff, eventually you will be able to beat Sofia, and if you do that, you get this Proto XT3 hovercraft. You can pick that up if you play through the whole thing. I saw yesterday, for instance, I was playing the PvP, which is the live battle tent, and I saw a lot of rookies playing there. I would advise you to at least play to icon level first before you do anything else. That will give you certain benefits throughout the game. You start off as a rookie and then you move to famous, I believe, and then to popular, and then to star, and eventually to icon. And then from icon on, that's sort of your level basis. Icon is more or less level 5, and then it just keeps being icon for the rest of the game. 1 headquarters to go, which is the pit. Also here, similar style as in the other headquarters. You will be able to find all that stuff. Yellow tent over there, orange bus to do the daily contract, a summit, the mailbox somewhere here behind the corner. Disciplines that you find here are the touring car, the air race planes, the Alpha GPs, and the power boats. The first time you come here, you get a power boat, if I'm not mistaken. and that more than likely, if I remember correctly, would be this thing here, the Proto Offshore Mark 1. That means if you have visited the 4 headquarters, you have a car, an off-road vehicle, a plane, and also a boat. That already means that you're familiar with 4 of the disciplines as well. If you go through this whole pro racing activity stuff and beat eventually Clarence, then you will be able to pick up this thing here, the Aston Martin Vanquish. Vulcan, I mean. Vanquish, it looks like a Vanquish, but it's a Vulcan. And then next to that, you will also have 8 vehicles in a way. If you just go with your starters vehicles that you win and get for free, you will get familiar with the other disciplines, and you will have a vehicle in each of the 16 disciplines. Like in this case, Pro Racing Family, you need to be able to beat these 4 different disciplines to get to that Aston Martin Vulcan there. You cannot buy those headquarters rewards, you need to earn them by going through the whole campaign thing. That sort of is the beginning of the game. Then what is quite important in this game is affix and also pro settings. Again, I'm going to post 2 links to a Google document. This is the affix. If you go to that Google document, you will find an overview of all the different affixes or bonuses that you have available in the game. And those are things that you need to put on your vehicles. Like in this case, I have an air race plane here. You will see if you go in that part, you will see that it has certain bonuses or affixes. In this case, I have some pure on here, I have skilled on here, and I have a score breaker set. These are yellow parts. That is like the ultimate part that you can get. That's the best part you can get. It's also a level 270, which is the maximum for this discipline. And eventually you want to end up with 7 of the same bonus situations, in this case a score breaker. There are 5 of these available. Let's see, what do we have here? Here we have, for instance, a loot digger set. The loot digger multiplies the loot that you get, so if you play around with this set in a certain discipline, you will be able to get more parts from it when you do the activities. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have a Fey Magnet. If you're interested in leveling up fast, then this is the way to go. Then you have that horseshoe symbol, and you sort of combine those 7. Don't make a mix of all these different score breakers and Fey Magnet and whatever is out there. Not ideal. Try to combine them once you have that. I do say once you have that because it goes pretty slow. You first need to level up to the maximum level. Once you have that, you will have green parts, they have no bonus. You will have blue parts, they have 1 bonus. You will have purple parts, they will have 2 bonuses, and eventually you're gonna get some yellow parts, and they have, as you can see here, 3 bonuses. Fey Magnet is for leveling up. What you want to have on that. Oh. There we go. Fey Magnet multiplies the followers, so you're gonna get more followers, which you need to level up faster. And the popular affix or bonus will give you a certain percentage increase of the followers. So if you combine those 2, then you already have a pretty good set. And then over here you can put some rich or something, which also will give you more bucks. You can change these bonuses by doing recalibration. We will come to that in a second as well. So what we saw now is the score breaker, the Fey Magnet. We also have a sniffer set. In this case, this one is completely maxed out. And that means sniffer set is to find out there on the map. You will find loot boxes all over the place. And to find them faster and easier, you put on a live reward sniffer. It sniffs around on the map and it sort of looks for those boxes. If you have some sensor on it, it will increase the radar, so you will have a larger radar to find the boxes, and the collector will increase the frequency, so the boxes appear more often and faster than if you don't have this thing on it, for instance. If you play the Summit, which is the competitive format of this thing, then you will be able occasionally to win complete sets like this from the Summit, depending on the ranking that you get into that. We will come to that also later throughout the video. That sort of gives you the base idea of it. You need vehicles, you need parts, and the bonuses are kind of important. If you open the menu, you can all find that in the menu as well. If you click on the news, you will be able to find the live battle, which is the multiplayer. You can immediately go to that tent in one of your headquarters. You can find the contract, that is the orange bus in your headquarters. You can immediately fast travel to that by going here. And once you are there, you can also go to the yellow tent or buy a vehicle or whatever. If you just want to buy a vehicle, you can go into the catalog, select whatever it is that you want, brand, pick up a certain model. For instance, a Red Bull, you want a Formula 1, you click one of these, you click on it, and it will go immediately to the headquarters. It will put you in front of that discipline. You go in there, you select one of the vehicles. Which of one is totally missing here? Oh no, this is Red Bull, of course. The other one is Proto. Proto is some sort of developer's brand. That's not an official brand. And so all of these things where they did not have a license or where the developers created themselves, they put under the Proto brand. You find the helicopter there, you will find the Alpha GP there, you will find Jet Sprint in here, you will find the Buggy in here, which is not an official brand. You'll find some hovercrafts, some hot rods as well, which are not officially, and so on. Also some power boats. Some of these things you will find under the Proto brand. Now, if we go a bit more specific into, for instance, the pro settings. If you go into, again, into your menu button on the controller, and then escape on, if you play on PC, it's the escape button. You also find the pilot. On the pilot, you can find a gallery with some pictures that you have taken. You also find the timeline. The timeline more or less gives you an idea what level you are. And also here you can pick up some parts every 10 levels. And as you can see, there are also some vehicles coming by that you can win. Some of them are exclusive. But if you're new to the game, of course, you start all the way on the left as a rookie. Then you move to Popular, Famous, Star, and eventually level 5, which is the Icon. And once you are there, then it goes just by Icon. Icon 1, Icon 2, and it goes up like that till you're Icon 10. And then you can already pick up your first part, which will be a purple part. And that is another way of getting yourself some parts. Make sure to collect them every 10. Whatever vehicle that you are in at that moment when you come here, that is also the vehicle that you will win it for. So if you're in a street race car, you open this level 10, if you are Icon 10, you're gonna get it for a street race. If you say, no, I want it for my boat, then you first have to switch into your boat before you go to the timeline and then collect it. And it goes on like that, and eventually you have level 100, Icon 100 will give you the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Now, you can buy this car. It is available in the dealers. So if you say like, oh, I want to drive the Camaro and you're only level 50, that is fine. You can buy that car if you have enough bucks for it. You can buy it, and then once you reach level 100, you will get a refund of the bucks that you have paid for it. Because the car is free once you have Icon 100. Then it goes on. Next is Icon 200. You will win the Waco YMF 5D. That is an aerobatic plane. Icon 300, the Peugeot 3008 Dakar, which is a rally raid vehicle. Icon 400 is the Proto Offshore Mark II. Similar, as far as we are here now, similar is that you can buy them. If you reach it, you will get a refund of your bucks. Icon 500, same story, BMW M Performance, the M4 Racing, sort of a DTM version of the M4 touring car, that is. Icon 600 is not something that you can buy. That is the first of the exclusive vehicles. So you need to play till Icon 600 to get your hands on the LaFerrari. You cannot buy it in advance. So this is something that you definitely need to grind the levels, level up till you get this. That was sort of the start of the game in the beginning, but then they updated the timeline a little bit and brought in some extra vehicles. I'm not 100% sure myself, because I was a higher level when they brought it in the game. I just got them. I don't know if you can purchase them in advance or if they are exclusive. Icon 700 is a drift version of the Acura NSX. Icon 850 is the Proto Hub 1 in a monster truck version, and eventually the Chiron Carbon Edition, which is Icon 1000. As far as I know, you cannot buy this thing, so you have to earn it. Once you are Icon 1000, you can do whatever you want. The icon completely becomes obsolete in a way, because there's nothing else on the timeline anymore except for from Icon 600 on. It's no longer purple, it's purple, yellow, it sort of switches up with your parts. And it keeps going on like that till you eventually are Icon 9999. You will see some people drive around with that. Most of them, at least a big majority of them, are more or less cheaters in a way. It is possible to reach it on a legit way, but some people use scripts and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about it, it doesn't mean anything. The only goal that you can go for is Icon 1000. That's the last car on the timeline. Everything higher than Icon 1000 is totally irrelevant, not important, just forget about it. It only helps you to upgrade your vehicles, because you can win every 10 levels apart, as you can see. Next to that, you have the narrative. If you ever want to see some of the cutscenes again in the different families, you can always watch the whole cutscene movie over here. You can even go to all. If you click on all, you get all the cutscenes more or less in a row for each of the families. And it sort of gives you an idea of what the family is about. You can also find your stats, how long you played and that kind of stuff, how much you spent in which discipline and that kind of stuff. And then also very important is the icon points. Another reason why you definitely should try to get to icon as fast as possible. Once you're icon, you get 1 icon point every time you level up, and you can spend that in each of these 3 more or less zones here: comfort, vehicle and gameplay. You can spend it on whatever it is that you want. That brings us back nice. That brings us back to the affixes that I posted the link of earlier. It more or less comes the same. You can find there on that Google document what they actually do, and then you can decide for yourself where you want to put parts on it. Eventually, if you're high enough level, you will have all of these things on maximum out on 25 points, and then you no longer get points for vehicle or gameplay because you have everything maxed out. Then you're only gonna get points for the comfort, and then you can put them on rich, which will give you more bucks. In this case, I put all my remaining parts on rich, and that gives me 257 points, and that means 25.7% more bucks for whatever it is that I do in the game. An activity or a summit event or play some PvP events or whatever, I will get 25.7% more bucks. Bucks are kind of important, especially when it comes later to the recalibration and so. That is more or less it when it comes to the points. You can find everything here, and you can find on the Google document what they actually do. Some of these things are just related to one family. Like here we have Hot Hat Slippery. The only thing you have to worry about is drift when it comes to those two. The rest of the disciplines have no interference with this Hot Hat or Slippery, only the drift. The Magnificent is only for aerobatic planes. The Extreme Mode is for aerobatic and air race. The Gifted is only for monster truck. The Graceful you can use in monster truck as well in motocross. Skilled is anything to do with skill test and getting more points of it. You want to have skilled. So you want to have points on it here, and also on your vehicle yourself you want to have the skilled bonus on it. It gives you more scoring. Perfection is a gateway or boat for the air race discipline. Here we have some more bulldozer. It's mainly it is a collision impact increase. It's mainly for demolition derby. Bumper is to avoid certain vehicles better, or trees or whatever. You will bump up a little bit from it, but it doesn't do that much. There are not many people using this affix. The same goes for shifty. Gives you a little bit more slipstream, but there are more important affixes to put on your vehicle. Very often people go for something like pure and extra pump, which will give you nitro power and nitro refill, and then you cannot have room. You only have room for 2 bonuses, so yeah, then these are things that nobody takes in consideration. This increases the slipstream distance, so it detects the slipstream from a bit farther. And drag bump is more or less the opposite of slipstream. If you're ahead of a vehicle, you get away faster from it. But nobody uses that much. Muddy is quite important once you get involved in the summit stuff. When it's off-road, you want to have some muddy about on some of these vehicles. And bender is more or less a lean bonus for leaning forward on bikes. That is sort of what these 2 categories do, and then this mainly has to do with nitro. You get the long boost, the refill while you're doing jumps, refill while you're braking, refill a short boost frenetic thing. Drifty refills the nitro when you are drifting, and tricky refills the nitro when you're doing all kind of figures. More or less can do that in an aerobatic plane or in a monster truck. Anything in the air, or you do some stunts, that is more or less the tricky. Sensor and collector are only interfering with the live snipper reward when you're looking out on the map for loot boxes. Other than that, has nothing to do with any of the other events or disciplines or whatsoever. That is more or less about the affixes. What is also quite important in this game, and that is what I've noticed lately, is that there are some new players, they're playing PvP, their cars go all over the place. And that has to do with pro settings. Also here, link will follow in the chat. Again, another Google document. There you will be able to find some explanation about the pro settings, what they actually do once you go into these sliders. If we, for instance, take a car, let's take something that a lot of people use in PvP, for instance, street race or hypercar. Those are the 2 disciplines that are most played there. Has to do with the way they set up those settings. So if you go into the performance, you pick up a car, you can select it, you can make it favorite, or you can select performance. If you go in there, then you see your performance part. In this case, this is a stock vehicle. It has no parts on it. As you can see, it is grayed out more or less. It comes with a level of 240. For a hypercar, the maximum is 320. So you want to get some parts in here. By doing activities, by doing the races out there on the map, you can get parts. And then you can press F9, and then you come into the pro settings. Very important, next to the affix, probably one of the most important things in the game, underestimated by many people. Some people just buy a car and then they drive around in that thing. Does not work. On that Google document you see these different sliders for the different disciplines, whether it's road or water or air, and you sort of get an explanation more or less what these things do. The first 4 are for the whole family, in this case for the whole discipline, hypercar. So whatever you put these first 4, if you don't like traction control, you can put it off. If you don't like stability protection, you can put it off. If you don't want your wheels to lock up anywhere, then you can put this on 8 or 9 instead of 10. If you don't want ABS at all, you can put it off. If you don't want drift assist, you can put it off. It's all personal, of course. Myself, I play on a keyboard, so I usually like to have all of these things on as much assist as possible, because otherwise you might have some issues. You can put it off here or there. It doesn't make a huge difference for most of these things. Whatever you set on these 4, you only have to set for each of the disciplines. If I go to another hypercar, these first 4 will just be the same. They are active for the whole vehicle discipline, in this case hypercar. The specific things here down below, that is something that you need to do for each vehicle separately. In this case the Porsche 918, if I go to a hypercar, I need to set my settings again or adjust the settings there. What all of these sliders do, you can find in the Google document that I've posted there, and you can find it there. You can also, if you're not familiar with my YouTube channel, you can also have a look there in my channel trailer. You will also get a more overview of these different Google documents. You will also find the links to all of these websites and Google documents in that description of that video. There you go. For those not familiar, that is my YouTube channel. You can go there and then figure it out over there, which the things that you want to see. Now, some of these things, like for instance the pro settings, those are things that are provided to us by one of the devs, that they sort of made that document. That has to do with the fact that I'm a member of TPC, and that is the pit crew, and that is more or less a feedback group from the game itself that they have created. They selected some players to put in there to give some feedback, and that we have some exchange of information. We give some feedback, they gave us some information, and then in this case the pro settings were not that very clear within the game. You don't get an explanation what all these things do. So we fast forwarded that to the devs, and then the devs, one of the devs came up with that Google document, more or less explaining what all these sliders do. Also that has to do with personal preferences. As a keyboard player, I always put the camber on 0-0 because otherwise the cars do not steer. Anti-roll bars you can put a bit stiffer to control the understeer or the oversteer. Suspension has more to do with jumps, how the car reacts on jumps, those forced over here. Brake balance, brake power, obviously with the braking. The tire grip on the front and the rear, in most cases we just put it on the maximum. There might be some exceptions, for instance for drift, where you put like the rear grip 1 or 2 clicks lower, but in general just put it on 10-10. The gearbox, on the other hand, if you play some PvP or so, you probably want to have it on 10, because there you have slipstream coming into play. If you're more involved in summits and do activities and you want to have some acceleration as well, you're probably going to end up most of the time on 8 or 9. Going to give you the best overall performance of the car. If it comes down to high speed and slipstream, you want to have it on 10 to get the most speed out of it. Differential distribution is only a slider you will find on 4-wheel drive cars, and there you can decide if you want to have more power on the front wheels or on the rear wheels. You sort of try to balance it out a little bit. And the aero distribution has to do with the airflow going over the car and how the car reacts. In general, I try to put it as much to the rear as possible, but at the same time not too low, because you also want to have some steering. There was an update recently which made us change these aero distribution settings a little bit more to 3 or 4 or 5 maybe in some cases, while before the update it was more 0, 1 or 2. Always try to get as much to the rear as possible as the car can handle and as yourself can handle while you're driving the car. That is for cars. For planes and boats you have different settings, obviously. There you don't have traction control or that sort of thing, obviously. Seeing you are not on the ground, for instance, in a plane. There you have some other sliders. Also that you can find in the same document there for the pro settings. You will find 4 different pages available. And you can click on those tabs, for instance on water or air you click, and then you will find all the settings. For instance, in a boat, same story, although here, for instance in the jet sprint, we have way less sliders to worry about. The drift assist helps you drift over the water a little bit. At this moment I have it on 8. The weight distribution more or less involves your speed, so you want to get that as low as possible in most of the cases. we just put it on 0. Braking power, in this case, not that important, because jet sprint you basically do not brake at all. So you can put that on 0, on 1, on 5, on 10, it does not matter at all, because you don't brake in these things. Buoyance and hull friction we usually put relatively high, meaning more towards the right. And the trim tabs is more or less your steering sensitivity of these jet sprints. In this case we have it very low, so that the boat doesn't go left and right the whole time when you steer it. And that sort of more or less gives a pretty good speed on the boat, and also very controllable. Personally, I drive these jet sprints with the cockpit view camera, because if I put the camera from behind, the boat completely reacts a little bit differently. That is for jet sprint in this case, sort of similar for the power boats. Also here we have the rudder angle, which is more or less your steering that comes into play compared to the jet sprint. That's one extra slider. As I have the settings here now, that it's more has to do with turns, it's more for the buoy smashing skill within the summits that I have it set up here. For racing, you probably want to go a bit higher with the hull friction. And the trim tabs, again, just like in the jet sprint, more or less your steering sensitivity on this boat. So that is something personal. Some people have it on 0, some people have it very high, they want to have more steering. The higher you put it, the more faster that boat reacts, and that might give some strange stuff. That is something you need to test. You need to click it, one click lower, one click higher, and eventually you will find the setting which suits you or what works for you. That is, for instance, for this boat. If I go to another boat, you will see some complete different settings. Like here I have the hull friction on 10, while I had it on 5 on the other boat. The trim tabs here are a bit higher than on the other boat. So yeah, as I said, it is specific for each of the vehicles. Only the global thing will always be on the same. In this case I have it on the middle. That goes for all my power boats. But the rest is boat by boat, you have to do it specifically. But I would advise you to spend some time in here and check it out, because it is kind of important. If you just go by default settings, that might work for some of the vehicles, but for most of them, not so much. Might slide a bit about. I saw it in PvP the other day, people driving pretty good cars within a certain discipline and sliding all over the place because they have too much oversteer, or they have one of these sliders all the way on the opposite side where it should be, and then you get all kind of strange behavior of your vehicles. So you do not want to mess about with that. But yeah, that is one of those benefits of being in TPC. Yeah, for those TPC, also have a command for that, I think, sort of explanation what it does. Then we go, you do the activities. If you open your menu, you can also find all of these information, races about all of these different disciplines. You can find it in your menu. You can find the live battle, which is the PvP. It's another way to go to that multiplayer tent. You can find the live summit, that is the competition, more or less. We will take a look on that in a second as well. And next to that you will find the 4 different families: street racing, off-road, freestyle, pro racing. If you go in one of these, you will find the 4 different disciplines within that family. You will find some skill tests which are related to that family. You will find some photo book events. These things are kind of important in such a way. If you're a new player, it's a good way to make money. The first time you take these pictures in each of these different categories, you will find all kind of different pictures. That is, if they want to load, it will tell you what you need to do. In this case, for instance, you have to perform a donut in Times Square in New York with any vehicle. You do a donut of that, you can go into the photo mode, and then you can take the picture. Just by taking it, if you get the requirements needed for that specific picture, you will get 15,000 bucks. Pretty easy way to make money if you're new in the game. That is what most of us did. Went through all these pictures in the different families, and we just took some pictures there. But for some reason I think I have deleted them from my hard disk, which means that they do not load in here now. Let's see, is there anything? I think in the freestyle family we had a couple of new ones. See if I can find those. The last one's demolition probably. No, they also don't want to load. I think I've deleted them. Let's have a look in the pilot menu, in the gallery. As you can see, I only have one picture, so I've deleted all the others from my hard disk. You can always find them here. It will tell you when you have taken the picture, what filter you have on it, and the location that you have taken that picture. You can always find them in your gallery, more or less. Easy way to make money. Go into the activities in each of these families. I can also go to pro racing, same story. Also there is a photo album with all kind of different pictures that you need to take. Some of them you might need a friend. Sometimes you need 2 vehicles on it. Then you need to have a friend around, or some random player just happen to be in the vehicle that you need on the picture. That is all possible. If you go through all these things, each of these events, these are all the Alpha GP races or Alpha GP events available. You can do them in 3 different more or less difficulty modes. You have normal, you have hardcore, and you have ace mode. Depending on the mode that you play, you will also get different amount of money. In this case, normal is 22,500, 28,000 for hard, and 31,500 for ace mode. I also advise you, do not go into ace mode if you just have a starter car and you're still leveling up your car. It will not work, you're gonna get beaten. You need to be in the top 3 in normal mode, and in ace mode you even have to win the race, if I'm not mistaken. So don't go there, you will lose. First work up your vehicle to the maximum level within the discipline that you need, then go to ace mode, and then it will be easy to beat the AI, and you will get more money from it. So once you have upgraded vehicles, just play. You can also see it in normal mode. The recommended level is 270. That is what most of these vehicles will come as stock. If you go to hardcore mode, the recommended level is 320, and if you go to ace, recommended level is maximum. Thanks for the follow, Dead King. And it will be the same in all of the other disciplines. Eventually you go through all this family, in this case the blues family, and then you have the final event of that thing. In this case, beat the Duke, and that is where you beat Clarence and get the Aston Martin Vulcan, which was the headquarters reward for the blue headquarters. The hovercraft in the pink headquarters, the helicopter in the orange headquarters, and the McLaren P1 in the yellow headquarters. That is how you get your hands on that vehicle. I don't think you need to put everything at 100%, unless they have changed that over time, but once we started playing the game, I believe you need about 70% of the whole family you need to do, and then this event unlocks, and then you can try to beat him in 3 different disciplines, and then you will be able to get your hands on the reward vehicle. Next to the 4 different families, you also have the Extreme Life series. They come with different episodes and eventually a grand finale. And that is more or less, if you're familiar with all the disciplines, because in each of these races you're gonna need 3 different vehicles. In this case, episode number 3 is with a jet sprint, a motocross bike, and a touring car. These are quite fun, but they don't have that many of them around at the moment. But sometimes when there is an update or so, they add some of these races. We have September Spectacular. This is a race that came along when they brought the Gator Rush update. We have the Extreme Holiday Special that came along with the Demolition Derby, and then with the Hot Shots update back in April 2019. They brought this Miami Surf and Turf. Now they switch it up a little bit and they're doing some smaller updates. They did not bring along one of these events, but maybe in future we will be able to get some more of these. These are quite interesting, since you have to play around with different disciplines. Picking up updates, there is an update recently, was update number 5 in November. There will be somewhere in March, April will be update number 6. Somewhere next year in summer it will be update number 7, and towards the end of the year update number 8. Smaller updates throughout the year, a bigger one towards the end of next year. I'm not so sure, to be honest, that that last one will be actually free. We will see. That might be like the first DLC that they bring for this game. All the other updates, the one recently in November, also the one in March and in somewhere in summer, they will be free content that is just added. Nothing that you need to do for that, except for maybe grind a little bit for crew credits. You want to have around 100,000 crew credits around by the time the next update hits the game, and that will be somewhere in March. Why, I obviously cannot say. That would be breaching the NDA, but I can give you the hint. Get yourself 100,000 crew credits. It's not that hard to do with the daily contracts. If you do daily contracts for about, worst case scenario, you get a 1500 contract. If you do them every day or every 3 days, you fulfill your 3 contracts that you have available. It takes you about 2 months and a half to get 100,000 crew credits. So you have more than enough time to get it together by March. That is that. Then the PvP, more or less already told you. You can find, just need to check where it is, and this it's all the way over there. That is the multiplayer. In the multiplayer, you don't have to worry about yellow parts and all, and purple and blue. It doesn't matter. If you go into PvP, you just need to have certain vehicles. Whatever vehicle you have, you can use within a certain discipline that you play in that. But if you go in here and you play this race lobby on the left, you register for it, you play it, you will only need a hypercar and a street race. It's also a good way to make money. Obviously, don't expect to win, because you're going to come up very often against better players who have more vehicles around and better vehicles around. That might all be possible. But level wise, you don't need to worry about it, because everybody gets the maximum level green parts. Those are more the parts without any bonus. The affixes or the bonuses do not play in this PvP, so you also do not need to work on that or anything like that. Everybody on the same level. The only thing is different cars, of course. If you like in street race, if you have something like an Audi RS5 or a Lamborghini Hurricane or something, and you have some good pro settings, always take a look on the pro settings, otherwise these cars slides about. But if you have things like that, you are already good to go. In hypercar, if you can get your hands on some of the Lamborghinis or something in that order, you're good to go. Ferrari might also work, Porsche might work. Everybody drives differently, so even if you have a bit less cars, you're a good driver, you might be able to beat a less driver, although he might have a better car. That is sort of PvP. Unfortunately, the PvP is not set up in such a way that you can use all these different disciplines. As I said, the street race has no collisions, so of course you don't have to worry about rammers and all that kind of stuff. But it only is street race and hypercar. That's only 2 of the 16 disciplines. If you want to get your hands on parts for the other disciplines, you're going to have to look in here for one of the other playlists. In this case, it's just updated, I think, about 30 minutes ago, because earlier we had beginning of the stream, we had a different playlist here. It updates every 24 hours. New playlists come available. In this case, it's the Special Mayhem. That means it's only Demolition Derby in this playlist at the moment. If you want to upgrade your vehicles in that discipline, this is the way to go. Sometimes you will find a mix playlist which has all kind of different disciplines. Sometimes you will find pro racing, which is only the blue family, and so on. Always also a good chance to get some parts and at the same time make some money. Pretty interesting as well. Once you have certain vehicles, you can also do the summit. Now, if we come to the summit, a bit hard. You're gonna have some issues here and there if you are a new player, because here it does matter what you have on your vehicle when it comes to parts and bonuses and stuff like that. If you go in here, this is the summit, which means I also gonna have to post a couple of links. First of all, what is the summit? Well, it more or less is this. It's a competitive format of 9 different events, and you have some sort of calendar that you see here. At this moment we are playing Ghost Road. Next week it will be Street Fight. It always goes for a week. It starts on, depending where you are, Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning, and then it goes till the next week. This is Street Fight, this is Point Breakers. These are the upcoming summits for the next couple of weeks. If we look at the Ghost Road, for instance, this is more or less what it tells you that you can win. If you're a new player, I wouldn't count on this thing here, because you will probably not have the required vehicles, you will not have good parts enough, which is another reason why you should upgrade your vehicles and get a vehicle in each of these disciplines. You can always check, for instance, next week we have Street Fight, you can check what you need there. It will tell you exactly in the overview of that summit what you need to have there. You can also check on the hub. That is another website. I will post a link. There you go. That is, you can always check there. You can always check the current summit that is running this week, and also for next week you will be able to see what is going on. Those 3 things on top there are always some skill tests that you need to do. That can be a slalom or an escape or something. Pretty quick things to do. You can look in the leaderboard what other people are using. Gives you already a pretty good idea. After a while you will recognize certain names that always come back. If you see what they are using, that gives you a pretty good idea what you should use for that certain skill test or event or whatever. In this case we have an escape, we have a speed trap, another escape. No restrictions, so you can use whatever it is that you have available. Obviously for the speed trap very often people gonna show up with a drag car. For escape, depending a bit on where it is, it might be a drag car, it might also be a hypercar. If it's off-road, some rally raid vehicle, or that's where the muddy bonus comes into play. It can be a street race or a hypercar with muddy on it. Muddy, what does muddy do? It sort of doesn't make you lose speed off-road, also in a street race or a hypercar vehicle. So if you have muddy on all of your parts, you can just go, and that thing obviously goes faster than an off-road vehicle, and that's what you will see certain people use. Over there we have a hypercar, and it says 488 Pista. That pretty much means that you need the Ferrari 488 Pista. Otherwise you will not be able to participate in that event unless you have a friend who has the car. You can go into a crew with that friend, and then you sort of loan his car, and that way you are able to set a score within the event. So if you do not have the car, but one of your friends has, go into a crew, let your friend be the crew master and invite you, and you will loan his car, and you will be able to set a score, although you do not have the vehicle. If you have the vehicle yourself, of course, that will help a lot. As you see here, even me as a more experienced player, I do not have all vehicles. The Abarth 500 is not that expensive, I will be able to buy that. But I'm not just going to buy that because, oh, we need that next week. No, we just wait and see, because 2 hours before the whole summit thing becomes available, you will be able to go to the yellow tent in any of the headquarters, and there will be a bundle available which will have all the vehicles that you're gonna need for this specific summit. So we just wait till next Wednesday morning, 2 hours before this summit will start. A new bundle will become available, which will be called Street Fight, and you will find all the vehicles needed, and you can get all of that package with a 20% discount. So just wait and see what is in the bundle and what you're gonna have to pay for it. The Street Racer Bart, okay, I can buy that, doesn't matter, it's only 40,000 or something, but Mazda RX-8, for instance, is a new vehicle. It's only coming next week into the game, so you cannot buy that. You no need to look for it in the headquarters to buy it. It's only available next week. Throughout the next upcoming summits, a few more vehicles will show up that way into this whole set and scenery. If you want to have an overview, hello Lunar. If you want to have an overview of the whole summit list, I also made a Google document of that. There we go. There you can always see what we have been doing over the last couple of weeks and months and so on. At this moment we are running the Ghost Road. As you can see here it's a bit different. You see all kind of numbers there. These are my summit scores. You can see in the overall what you need for these different things. So what we can win this week is, if you win a bronze medal, you can win 400,000 followers. That as a new player is already something you can go for, because it will increase your level, will move you up on the timeline, you will be able to get vehicles and so on. Over here you get a street race, in this case boosted parts. That means that you will be able to get a higher percentage than you normally can on these bonuses, but you only get 4 parts because last week we already won the first 3. It eventually gives you a set. If you manage to get to the gold, then you will be able to win a bunch of tires, more specifically the Rally Inner Black tire. If you manage to get to platinum, which is the top 3000 on each of the platforms, for this week, then the reward is a Ghost Recon Edition Ford Raptor race truck. That will be something that you can win if you reach the top 3000. If you're a new player, it's going to be pretty hard to do, especially on PC. The competition is pretty hard at times. So you need to have some good vehicles with some decent affixes on it. That's why those yellow parts and so are pretty important. Some people on the forums sometimes are complaining that it's hard to get to platinum, and then you ask a bit more in detail what is the problem. Very often turns out that they don't have upgraded vehicles, or that they don't have yellow sets or something like that. That has to do with time and effort. You need to put some time and effort into it, a little grind here and there, to get yourself some good sets. Once you have the sets, you're good to go for the rest of the upcoming weeks and months for the next summits, because you can always take off your parts from one vehicle and put them on another part of the same discipline. That is all possible in this game. Going into more detail within the overall ranking here, and here you sort of have an overview what you need for these different medals. So bronze medal, more or less, you need to get ranked. Not that hard. You do one of these skill tests, you are ranked, you will have a bronze medal, you will get 400,000 followers. By the end of the week, when this summit stops, if a new summit becomes available, you can go to the summit screen thing in your headquarters and you can collect your rewards there. Silver, yeah, that depends on what the people are doing. And in this case, that means that the average score, you might sometimes see it change here while we are here, because the people are playing and the scores go up a little bit. You need 10,000 points, not that hard, so silver is something even as a new player you should be able to get. Probably even can get gold as a new player. That means you need to be reaching the top 8,000. Not that hard to do either if you do a few of these events that you can do with the vehicles that you have at that moment. Platinum, yeah, there you need a bit aware of what is going on. The score is 919,000, and you have to consider that this summit takes place till next Tuesday. The scores will only go up throughout the week. Beginning of the week they will be very low. At the end of the week they might go pretty high. Reaching platinum is pretty simple. You're gonna need certain sets. We will have a look on that in a second. What exactly it is that you need for all of these things. You're gonna have to grind for some sets, but you don't need every single set in every discipline, not to play the summit. Two most important ones are a Nitrochemist set and a Scorebreaker set, and even that you do not need in all of the disciplines. If we go have a look on the slalom, you just click on it and it will automatically take you to the event wherever it is that it takes place. In this case in the middle of some sort of airfield cemetery. You need a vehicle here. We are off-road. I'm in a touring car. It's not gonna work very well. So there are a few options that you can go for here. But to keep it simple, let's say we go for an off-road vehicle. You can use a monster truck if you want to do that. That will all work. It's gonna probably give you a certain... Let's see if we can find something which has a score breaker on it. Like this, I have a score breaker set. Why do you need the score breaker set? Because it interferes with your scoring of this thing. We have a slalom here. So what does it mean? Let's say you can score 1,000 points. If you have a score breaker set on, which means 7 of these little bullseye figures. Thanks for the follow, Joe. If you have a score breaker set on, it more or less doubles these. So if you can score, let's say, 1,000 points on a gate, with a score breaker set, you're gonna score 2,000 points on it. If you, next to that, have skilled on it, like I have here for instance, I have skilled 7%, it is not maxed out, but it can go, the range, it will tell you here, it will also tell you on the Affix document that I posted there earlier, it will tell you that it can go to 10%. So you want to get this stuff to 10%. Now, that's where the recalibration comes in. And that is something you need bugs for that, and you need spare parts from that. On top of your screen here, you see 3 different currencies. You have your bugs, which is your in-game bugs. Those are the black things. You have the blue things, which is your crew credits. They are not interfering with this. And then you have these symbol over here with the brown currency, and that is the spare parts or the scrap parts. If you have like some lower parts or something in your inventory, you can always scrap them, and in return you will get some scrap parts, and that is how you get on that certain number. So what do we need? We need the black things and we need the brown things. How much of these things do you need? Like in this case we have skill 7%. I want to get that to 10. It will tell you recalibrate. The black things we need 1000, the brown things we need 500. If you press on that button, you hold it, that is the amount. You don't know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna have to pay for it. 1000 of the black currency, 500 of the brown currency. You just hold that button and a certain little window will pop up, and it will show you 2 things. You have your 7% on here. You can say no, I don't need any of that other stuff, although you just paid for it, but it might be that the one that you have on is actually the better one. Then you can just select keep, and then you keep whatever it is that you have. You can go to the middle. Thanks for the follow, Corbin. And you can go to the middle. If you go to the middle, there you can change the bonus. In this case, we don't want to change the bonus because we have skilled on it already. That's what we are looking for together with the score breaker, because both of these things involve the scoring of points. So we don't want rich. So, but if in case you want to change it, I will show you that in a second how to change. Then you select the middle one, and you keep doing that till you find what it is that you're looking for. Of course, that's going to cost you some money every time because the price is always going to increase with a maximum of 16,000, I believe. We'll see one of these parts. If I have a maximum, then I can give you the exact numbers for that. So we don't want that rich because we want to have the skilled, but we want to get that skilled to 10%. So in the middle, you're always going to find some other bonus, some other affix that you will find than what you have on. On the top over here, you will always find the same bonus that you have on, but with a different percentage. Now, be aware that this is RNG. This is purely luck-based. Eventually, you will get the 10%, but it can be a higher percentage, it can be a lower percentage. You never know. In this case, we have 7% on it, and it offers us 8.3 on top, which is, of course, 1.3% more. It's more interesting for us, so we are going to select the top one. It will close the box, and the price goes up now. Now we have to pay, instead of 1000, we have to pay 1,150 bucks and 525 instead of 500 of the brown currency. So we open that thing again and see what it gives. In the middle, we do not worry about the middle anymore because we have skilled. We're just going to look at the top one. And what we are looking for is a higher percentage than the 8.3 that we have. So we are just going to keep our part this time because it gives us 6.1, which is lower. We don't need that. The price goes up again. You already see the thing coming here. The price is always going to go up. We do it again. And now it gives us 5.5. Again, kind of a pointless recalibration because it gives us lower percentage. That's where the RNG comes in. Not much we can do about that. And we keep doing this. As a new player, I would advise you just go with whatever it is that you have, because you are going to get broke very easy if you keep doing this on all of your vehicles. But in this case, I can afford it, so I will just show you. We're going to keep doing this. As well, the bucks as the spare parts are going to go up every time. 6.6, that's not good enough, so we go to the bottom one again. We select that one again. And we keep doing that till eventually we get to 10%. Might have to go a few times. Price goes up again. You will get familiar with that because the price are very often gonna go up again. $7.2, again lower. 8.8 instead of 8.3, so we have a little increase. We put that one on, so now we already have 8.8%. Meanwhile, the price is still okay at the moment, but if you get to the maximum price of 16,000 bucks and you need to do that every time, you need to pay 16,000 bucks every time. As a new player, that is not advisable to do that because it's going to cost you a lot of money. It is also a bit of luck based. We could have had the 10 already the first time if we were lucky. That was all very possible. 9.4, we're almost there. Now we are on the 0.6% away from the 10. That is where usually the trouble starts and where the price is going to go up like crazy now. So we need to hope to get it as soon as possible. And why do you need that? Because yeah, if you want to get to the platinum medal within a summit, you're gonna have to look for the 10%. Although the 9.4 might be very nice and think like, oh, that's close to the 10. But other people will have the 10. There is no doubt about it, especially if you're playing within the platinum range of the summit. You can be assured that all of these people have skilled 10% on their vehicles. That means they can score more percentage than you do if you don't have it. So you have no other choice. If you want to go for platinum, you have to go along. Now I'm showing this because we are on the maximum price now. That means that from now on we are capped at 16,000 bucks and 1,300 spare parts. The price will no longer go up, but every time that we do this, we're gonna have to pay 16,000 bucks and 1,300 spare parts. So that is kinda expensive. And that is why you actually don't want to see that 9.4 when you're looking for 10 or 7.4 when you're looking for 8, because that usually takes a while before you get it. We will go over the disciplines in more detail in a second, because like what I'm doing now you actually don't need to do, because you don't need a score breaker on a monster truck. Because there are faster vehicles out there. But I just want to see how much this thing is going to cost me before I actually get the 10, which already is also a good indication that I can show you guys. Don't do this if you're a new player. I haven't looked at where we started. I think around 6 million or something we had in bucks. And about 160,000 I think in the spare parts. And this is one of the reasons why even within TPC people are complaining about this. I just would like to see a tuner shop or so where I go and I just buy. They can ask whatever they want, but I can just buy a score breaker with a skill 10% and then just buy it. That would be convenient, but that's not in this game, so we have to do it like this. I wouldn't mind if I have to pay a few 100,000 or whatever for a score breaker with skill 10%, but then at least I know that I get it. Now I have to do this, yeah, I don't know. Very long time by the looks of it. But that is okay, because yeah, that can show you very well what is going on here. And how long it's gonna take, and what it's gonna cost you. Gives you a pretty good idea. Now, you can be lucky, as I said. You can give it, let's say when the price was 5,000 or so, it could be very possible that we get like skill 10 and actually would get it. There it is, finally. So now I finally have it, but to do this has costed me about 500,000 bucks and about 50-60,000 of these spare parts. But I have it maxed out. That also means that this score breaker with skilled and gifted is now good forever. I can, if I need it at one day or another, if I do need it on a monster truck, I have this part available. I can just go in there, I can select the stock part again, and that means that now this part is available for my whole range of monster trucks. I can just go in here, here it is, and I can put it on this one if I need it on this car, and there is my part. So this part is now done and dealt with, and whatever I do in the future doesn't matter. I will always have this part available. And then you can switch it between always within a certain discipline. Where did we have it on? There we go. I have a few of these score breakers with skill, doesn't matter that much, but I will show you what does matter. The slalom is a pretty good thing in such a way it has a finish. So you have to slalom through some gates, but it has a finish. That also means that there is a time bonus involved in such a way. The faster that you reach the finish, the more time bonus you will get. If you have 10 seconds on the clock on the finish or more, you will always get 2,000 points time bonus. That is something that you have to take in consideration. I don't think we're gonna get there in time with this monster truck, but we will see. We are going relatively slow, as you can see. Always looking for the next gate. So far so good, but we might get into some difficulties. We need to go in between. My multiplier is on 2 now. That means we have to keep it there, because that is because we haven't missed any gate yet. If you do miss a gate, you will lose a multiplier, and it will go back to 1.1 or something. Oh, that way. We do manage to get the finish, but only with like 5 seconds or 6 seconds. So we scored 24,017 points. Now this point total will be reverted into some sort of summit score. 151,824 points we get for this specific run, and at the same time we also win a part for it. But as you can see, I have 155,293. So let's go there again and switch to another vehicle. This is off-road, so we can also take an off-road vehicle. You can take a rallycross. Again, you need a score breaker. So not that interesting, because it's not the fastest thing around. You can go for a rally raid vehicle, and I will show you the set that I have on here. This is a fully recalibrated set in a way. I have that score breaker on here again. I also have the skilled on here, and it is maxed out to 10%, as we just recalibrated earlier. Skilled 10% with a score breaker. If I look into one of the other parts, skilled 10% with a score breaker. No matter which one I take, it has score breaker and it has skilled 10%. Next to that, I have some extra pump, which is a refill of the nitro. I have a pure here and there. The rest doesn't matter that much. Most importantly for this skill is score breaker and skilled. Let's say that each of these gates you score 1000 points. If you have a set of score breakers, 7 of these things available, it will double that point. So that means 2000 points instead of 1000 points on the gate. And then you have the skilled 10%, which is going to give you an extra percent on the 1000 base score. That means in this case we have skilled 75%. How do we get the 75%? Where does it come from? We have skilled 10% on here. We have that 7 times on here. So that is 70% extra. But it says 75. Where does it come from? If you go to the pilot and you look into the icon points, I also have gifted and I have graceful and all that kind of stuff. But I also have skilled. And on the skilled I have also 25 points, which gives me 5% extra. That's why I'm getting 75% on that car instead of 70. The other 5% comes from this menu here. Very important menu if you are involved in Summit. You want to have points on all of these things which matter for the event that you are doing within the Summit structure. So we will switch to that vehicle. I have score breaker and skilled 75%. Now if I can find it. There it is. Now, we're going to do the same slalom. We're just going to do a run here. We scored, what was it, 24,000 points or something. And we had a few skills on that monster truck as well, right? As a new player, you want to make sure that you have all the gates. That's the most important, as long as you don't get the multiplier lost. In this case it's orange times 2 times 0, so it will multiply our score as well. We scored 28,760 because we have the more or less fully upgraded score breaker set. And that results in 155,000 points. So I already get 4,000 summit points more than what is available in the whole thing. Now if you look into the leaderboard of this specific slalom, you will see I have 29,035 points. I'm actually third overall out of the 13,494 players that have played this. Now, how do I get 29,000? I just did a run and I score 28,700. That of course has to do with speed. The higher speed you get, the more points you get on these gates, because each of these gates has a certain countdown. Let's say it starts at 500 points and then it starts counting down. So yeah, the longer you take to get to the next gate, the more points you will lost to that next gate. That of course means you're gonna have to change a bit. Starting here at 15 kilometers an hour is not very interesting. You want to arrive here on a high speed. That means you're gonna have to search some sort of route to get to the gate at full speed. Full speed is about 250 with some boost. I think it can even do 270, this mini countryman. So we'll see if we can score a bit more than the 28,700. We might slide a bit because I noticed it just has been raining. That is all things that are influencing. And you also don't want to do this, because that is where you need to find the route. You might have to do this a couple of times, because you know you need to find your route, you need to find your way. You have these bushes here where you can sort of aim for. And that takes a bit of time and effort. If you want to get involved into summits, that is what you're going to have to do. Just setting a score in here is very often, in this skill test it doesn't matter that much. But if you want to get for platinum and you want to keep you're going to have to come back to the summit and do it again and again and again. Some people are doing this with a bike, but that might already give some issues if you're gonna go under the wings of these planes. Might get lose your head there or something. This is a very lousy run, by the way, because I don't have enough speed, but doing this with a car also gives you the advantage that you can push away the gate. What you saw there now is like at the end I lost a gate. Well, I drove next to it to show you guys that you actually lose the multiplier. The multiplier is now on times 1.1. That's not something you want. You want to make sure that you have the gate so that you don't lose the multiplier. You need to keep that multiplier on 2 times 0 all the time. It will, at the beginning it will sort of increase step by step till it's at a certain moment at 2.0, and then you want to keep it there. Now let's try to do a proper run and see what's going on. What you will see that even if I manage to do a 28,900 or 29,000, it will not matter that much anymore. As long as you have the score breakers and the skills on it, you will score 150,000 plus, which is a pretty good summit score for a slalom. Didn't want to fly over that, but it worked. Now we can drive all the way here. We have 20 seconds left, it doesn't matter. As long as we finish within 10 seconds on that clock, we get 2,000 time bonus. And we score 28,963. You can go a little bit faster, then you can score over 29,000, and it goes on like that. But even for this run, I'm getting 155,000, just like I did with the 28,700 or whatever it is that we scored there in the beginning. At this moment in time, it doesn't matter that much anymore. As long as you can score 150,000 plus in these skill tests, like slalom and escape and also aerobatics and so on, it all doesn't matter. Over here we have an escape, although it is Orange Family. Hello guys. Although it is Off-Road Family, this is one of these things you don't have to focus too much on the color of these skill tests. It says Orange Family, so I could use this thing. This is an escape. It is based on getting as far away from this gate as possible. And for this, it has nothing to do with points, so you don't need a score breaker. So that means that for this, you want to have a Nitro Chemist set. Now, you can use a Nitro Chemist set on one of your off-road vehicles. Let's see, do we have one here? We have one here. Here, for instance, I have a set which has a Nitro Chemist that gives me more Nitro Boost power. That is more or less the two sets that you need. You need a score breaker and you need a Nitro Chemist set if you're involved in the summit. The Fame Magnet, the Loo Digger, the Live Snipper, nothing to do with the summit. You don't need it if you want to play summits. As long as you have a Nitro Chemist and a score breaker in most of the disciplines, then you are good to go. In this case, we could use this thing. We will see what we can score with this, for instance, in this escape. So we don't have skilled on it or anything. We have some bender, that is a lean bonus for bikes. We have some extra pump and we have some pure. We will use this vehicle, that will work just fine. And we'll see what we can score on this thing. So, we take this off-road vehicle on an off-road skill, you know, it's an Orange Family. And we just drive in this thing and we try to avoid the trees and see how far we get. There's like some red circle on the minimap, as you can see there, is chasing us. It's trying to catch us. As soon as it catches us, it's game over and you will get a certain score. We'll see how far we get with this. You have to avoid the trees, obviously. We're reaching about 230, 240 kilometers an hour. But yeah, as long as we drive away from that circle, you need to keep an eye on that circle. As long as we drive away, we are scoring points. 3000 meters something. Okay, we're gonna get a score for that. Let's have a look what it is. It gives us 20,000 points. As you can see, that is a little bit away from the 145,000 points that I have here. Now, why is that? Because as I said, you don't always have to pay attention to these colors of these skill tests. If you look behind here, for instance, there is an asphalt road here. That means that in this case, an off-road vehicle which can do 240, 250, 260 kilometers an hour, you're not gonna get far with that thing. So you just switch to something else. Now, of course, as a new player, you're not gonna have fully recalibrated sets, and you're not gonna be able to. So you're probably gonna have to go with something that you have available. You can, for instance, use a street race car. Let's see if I have something available. As long as you have some decent parts on it, even if you don't have a nitrochemist or whatever, if you're a new player, just play with whatever it is that you have. Let's see, what do we have? Here we have like more or less the perfect set for time attacks and events within the summit, and that has nitrochemist, it has pure, and it has extra pump. Each of these pure, extra pump, 8%, 10%, and the nitrochemist set max out to the maximum. As you can see, also my prices here are on the maximum for recalibration, so I spent quite some money to get these sets together, but we have it available and we can use just use this thing. Of course, that is if you select it, which I always forget to do. It's one of these things that you need to do. You need to select the vehicle, obviously. All the way to the front. Select this, please. No. Kinda okay. We're in an Audi. This thing has 4-wheel drive, so we might be okay. You're gonna lose some speed here because this thing limits at 180 or something when it's doing off-road. But we can change that. I will show you that also in a second, but first we'll try to get to the road. Although this is an off-road skill test, we are now on the road. We can get way more than the 240 kilometers an hour or whatever it is that we were doing there. So we're gonna get faster away. I'm already over 340 kilometers an hour. Here we do have a little bit of a problem, and that is there are cars on the road. And that is an involving factor in something like this. There are some people out there who are lucky to have not get any traffic, and they are driving around miles away. But yeah, with our off-road bike we scored, what was it, 3000 meters or something. We are meanwhile going over 4000, 4400. Just try to get as much away from that circle as possible, and we'll see where it catches us. And the tunnel, apparently, 5,329 meters. Instead of 20,000 points, we get 63,700 points. So we already score more. Now, of course, a street race vehicle is not the fastest thing around. So, do you have any other vehicles? You can use that. We can, for instance, take something also won throughout the summit. For instance, you win some summit rewards occasionally. We could go for a hypercar or a touring car or an Alpha GP. Those things are faster than a street race. Let's see what you have on here. We have this set here. It also has a nitrochemist, and it has some pure, and it has some extra pump on it. But next to that, you see that little hill on all of these thingies, and that is muddy. Muddy 8% on all of them, and if you max that out together with the pilot icon points, it also gives us 10% extra, gets 66% muddy. That means that this thing, maxed out with muddy, will not lose speed off-road. So it will not limit at 180 kilometers an hour in the dirt or in the grass or whatever. It will just keep going. This is a hypercar. It can go way over 400 kilometers an hour. So you can even approach from a bit further and get the muddy set used as it should be. And I totally forgot to select that car again. That is something that's somehow or another, it's a bit annoying. In the previous title of this game, we had some sort of smartphone on the screen, and there we could just go in the garage and select whatever vehicle that we wanted to. Now we have to go always in that menu. There are some filters about and stuff like that, but you cannot put like 10 or 15 vehicles in a favorite filter, so I refuse to use those filters till we get something like that. But you already see it here with muddy on it. I'm doing 280 kilometers an hour in the grass. That's where the muddy bonus comes into play. So you can already start with more speed than you can with your street race car, because it's not limited. Next to that, the car goes faster. I must say, traffic is kinda okay, in such a way that there is none at the moment. At a certain moment it will appear. But this is a pretty okay run, because if you have bad luck, you have a lot more traffic here. We also find some other players, because the thing takes place in pre-roam in a way. Blind jumps. Also here you need to hope that there are no traffic cars on your landing, because yeah, obviously while you're in the air you can't steer. So if there is a car, you're just gonna land on it, as you see here. And then of course you give the red circle a chance to catch up. But nevertheless, switching from a street race car to a hypercar with a bit faster start due to the muddy, 134,000 points. That is how you get your scores up. Once you get a bit experienced and you have all your vehicles about, you can also do this thing, for instance, in a drag car. That thing can go over 500-600 kilometers an hour. A bit harder to steer, of course, and then you can score 100 and something thousand points. 145, 150,000, something in that order. That sort of explains the escapes within a slalom. We also saw, if we go to aerobatics, then we are in scoring area again, and that also means that for planes you're gonna have to go with certain sets. In general, what you're looking for in the aerobatic plane, although it is an aerobatic skill, you're not going to use an aerobatic plane. That already means that if you're playing Summit, you have these aerobatic planes, you don't need a score breaker set in aerobatics. The reason for that is pretty simple. These planes are not fast enough. We have faster planes, and they are called air race. Different discipline, different family even. Although this is a pink skill test, we're just gonna go for air race planes for the simple reason these things go about 50, maybe even 100 kilometers an hour more than the other. This aerobatic skill that needs to be, you're gonna have to fly through certain gates, so you need to have a score breaker set again. On the air race, not on the aerobatic. You don't need it in the Summit, don't need to look for those parts. If you have them, fine, you can use them, but not if you're really looking for parts. And what do I need? I will go over every single discipline after this to show you guys what you need. What do we have here? Again, a score breaker set. 7 of those yellow parts with the bullseye symbol, and next to that skilled as well on it. If we look in that part, it has skilled 10% and it has the score breaker. What you put next to it, pure, frenetic, extra pump, all doesn't matter. As long as you have the score breaker and the skills, you are good to go for a skill test like aerobatics. Although it is an air race plane, that confuses some people, especially if you're new to the game. It's an aerobatic and people are using an air race. That has to do with developers not restricting these skill tests to a certain family or to a certain discipline. Then people just take whatever is the fastest vehicle that they can use. In this case, an air race plane. In the escape, for instance, people are using drag cars. So we're just gonna go with this Slick 360 and we will do this aerobatic thingy. What you need to do here is more or less you need to fly through some circles to start the thing up, and then you fly through this circle. You see 1,000 points, and here it will show you exactly 2,750 points on the gates. Why do I get that? Because I have the score breaker set, so I get 2,000 points instead of 1,000, and because I have the skilled 75%, I get 750 points extra, and that's why I get 2,750 on it. And you try to get that on every gate. Seeing this plane is faster than all of the other planes. You can finish more than 10 seconds on the clock. We get 2,000 time bonus, 19,700 points. That's it. You are done with this aerobatics, because what I just done here now is perfect run, more or less. You cannot score more points. There are not more circles to fly through. I have maximum time bonus on the finish because I have more than 10 seconds. I score 19,700. If you go over the list, that is something that you will find here all over the place. This is now just my friends list. As you can see, some people have missed a gate or they were not fast enough, so they have some different points. But if you look in the overall leaderboard, yeah, I'm 160th with 19,700 points, and the world record is 19,700 points. So even you can scroll down here, probably find the top 250 or whatever. Let's have a look. The top 180 players, they all do the same run what I just done here now, and score the maximum points in these aerobatics. As long as you use, as you can see, all of these people have used the air race plane. If you go a bit lower, you might find some aerobatics in there. Those are people that don't have an air race plane or something. Then you're gonna have to go with the aerobatic plane. All the rest of the events, because each of these summits will have 3 of these skill tests. In a slalom, in an aerobatics, you're gonna need score breaker. In something like a speed trap or an escape, you don't need score breaker. You're gonna have to use a nitrochemist set. The only 2 sets you ever gonna need within a summit. Also here on the jet sprint and the rally raid events and monster truck, next week it's street race and hypercar. The rest is more or less time attacks or stuff like that, and you're mostly gonna need a rally raid nitrochemist set. Over here we have rallycross nitrochemist set. It's all about time, then you're gonna have to use a nitrochemist. If it's about score, like in a slalom or in aerobatics, you're gonna have to use a score breaker. And that is more or less it. Monster truck event, on the other hand, there you need something called gifted. The monster truck is it is more or less time based, because you have 3 minutes to do whatever it is that you want to do. You do some stunts, you do some flips, you can do whatever it is that you want. But you want to have gifted on it because it gives you extra scoring within that monster truck event. Where are the monster trucks? Here somewhere. So the set that we are using here is a nitrochemist set, and it has each of these parts have gifted maxed out to 10%. That will give us 10% more scoring in a monster truck event, which this is a monster truck event. So I have the gifted on all 7 of these parts. Next to that, you can put whatever you want, it doesn't matter as long as you have the gifted. Most people use frenetic or pure or extra pump or something in that order. Unfortunately, also due to the setup of this whole event, you're gonna get some points for formation and overtake and slipstream if you do this with a crew. So somehow it is set up that you have to do it with some friends or with a crew to get some more points. But even if you don't have a crew around, there are two possibilities to do this. I will show you the two possibilities. What a lot of people are doing, they just drive with a crew. We'll take this thing which has gifted on it.
3, 2, 1.
Now you can just jump. That's a possibility. You will get some points for jump and perfect landing, and then you can drive through these points. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do some sort of route, and we're just gonna see how much points we can get by just jumping through the points. You can also do a backflip, which you do by leaning backwards. You get some points for that. You can do some other stuff as well. Let's see what we can figure out. You also want to go up there if you just want to do this scoring wise. You can also do a backflip through the points. That's also a possibility. Then you get, oops, then you get a backflip and also some points for jumping through it. You want to go on top of here because there is a big 5000 here. Just a bit too slow. You can also just spin around. It's also works. That's an air spin that you get then, depending on the stuff that you do. Because we have the gifted, we score 70% more than we normally would. So that is all fine. We can do a score like, I don't know, 30, 35,000, maybe something more. If we slide a bit too much, we're not going to score that more. But you can go 4 times up, as long as you go 2 times left at first, and then the second time you go left as well, the third time, and the fourth time you go to the right there. A bit more speed. There we go. Now we got all of them. You can also do backflips. 3 backflips. Get 270 points for that. Meanwhile we have 27,000 points. We still have 50 seconds on the clock, so we can do some more stuff. Backflip here, why not? So we get points for a backflip, we get points for a jump. There are a few options possible. Go right this time. This is something to do with finding a route that where you can find the most points and such. That is something you can always do and redo and figure it out. What you can also do, for instance, is backflip and steer. That's called a Misty. 1, 2, 3. As long as you can land it, get a bit more points than for a backflip than for a Misty. $32,900. That's what we scored. If we would not have the gifted, that probably would only be like 20,000 points. So the gifted is quite important in monster arenas. And we get 140,000 points for it. As you can see, my record is 46,000 points. That is done in a crew, and then you do something completely different. I don't even know if I can increase the score that I have here now, because I'm doing it solo. If you do this with a team, you're gonna get some points already here for formation. You're gonna get some points for slipstream. You're gonna get some points for overtake in case you overtake somebody. You can also drive up the wall here. You will actually get some points for wall ride. That I already find something very strange. It's like something that annoys a lot of people is the wall riding in racing. Here you get points for it. So we sort of do the same route in a way. So we pick up some points here in the beginning. The 1,000 over there, we got the 5,000 over here. And that's about it. We're not going to worry about any of these points anymore. Because from now on we're just gonna do a spinneroodle. And we're gonna do that till the time stops. Because you get jumps, you get perfect landings, you get air spin, you get all kind of stuff this way as well. It's boring as hell. It should be restricted in somehow or another. After 3 spins you should no longer get points, but as you see, my points total now does not change at all. And it will also not change as long as I don't fall down on the ground or so. As long as I keep doing combinations, it will not give me any points. It will remind my points, it will remember them, it will give it to me whenever I decide to go a bit too slow. Like now it sort of gave us already 7,000. So it's sort of like a combo point system that you get. As long as you don't lose the combi, you will not get your points, and you will get your points at the end. Like this is not going good. I saw that happening. We're gonna land here. Now I get my points, you see, 27,000 for the combos that I just did there, because I got stuck. You keep this thing going. But yeah, you already see it happening here. We had 32,000 going through the points as I expect that they had intended for players to do. That's why they had all these points hanging there in the arena. But yeah, if they make it this simple to do simple flips here for like 3 minutes, and you can score more points, then people will not bother with that. Get some more points. And yeah, if you do this with a team of 3-4 people, obviously you're gonna get formation points and all that kind of stuff, because everybody is spinning here at the same time. You can find a video of that on my YouTube channel for one of those runs. I think the 45,000 run or so that I posted. But yeah, similar different system, but we scored 35,700 points, while we are doing the run only scored 32,000 points. So yeah, unfortunately this spinning around crap gives you more points than actually looking for the best route possible and jumping through the points. A bit unfortunate in the Monster Arena. And then the rest are just races, time attacks that you can do, and also set yourself a score there. And then you will find yourself somewhere in the overall ranking. In my case, I am place 6 at the moment. I might drop over time, or I might go a bit higher if I improve some scores, get some more summit points. This is the total points of summits that you get. You have 9 events. If you do all 9 events, you get a 100,000 bonus. That is also quite important. That means that even if you don't have like proper sets or whatever, just set a score. How low it also might be, just set a score in the thing, because you will get 100,000 bonus if you do all 9 events. That's already an extra bonus, which might get you to the platinum easier. If you leave one of these events open, yeah, then you sort of let 250,000 points be there for no reason. Let's see, I'm 6th here. What's my other driver meanwhile dropped to? 11th. I'm 6th and 11th. 2 different drivers, but it's the same driver in a way. It's both me. So that is more than okay. The top guys are doing over 1.4 million points, but that all doesn't matter that much. The platinum, the top 3,000 gives you the best reward possible, which is the car at this week. And of course everything lower. So if you get gold medal at the end of the summit week, which is on Tuesdays, then you win the gold, the silver and the bronze. If you get platinum, you get everything available to win in this summit. So I will get the 400,000, I will get the parts, I will get the tires, I will get the car. No doubt about it, seeing I'm 6th and it's only 3 days to go. I'm not gonna drop that low that I'm gonna go under the platinum barrier, sorta. that is more or less a brief explanation of the summit. What do you need to play the summit? Going discipline by discipline. We'll have a look in that. We're going to start, obviously, with street race. Street race vehicles, there are a few options there. I think in total you need 1 point or another. You're gonna need 5 different sets. 3 Nitro Chemist sets and 2 score breakers. The first one that you need is just for time attacks. You wanna have a Nitro Chemist, 7 of the same, extra pump pure. That is just for time attacks. You can do some racing with that. That all works very fine. And you can do whenever there is some street vehicle, you just take off this set. If you have to use another vehicle, sometimes you need to do it with a specific car or so. You take off these parts, you put them on another car, and you can do it with that car. Not a problem, you can use this set. Definitely need a Nitro Chemist set with pure and extra pump within the street race family. You don't need a sniffer. What else do you need? A bike set. And that means Nitro Chemist set with bender. And next to that, you can put some pure, you can put some extra pump to get you some nitro, to get you some nitro refill. But the bender is the lean bonus, and that is easier to keep you on the top speed. If you're on the top speed of your bike and you lean forward, the bender will maintain your speed, which means you don't need to boost, you don't need to use any of the nitro boost, and that means that meanwhile, while you're leaning forward, you're on the top speed, the thing will refill because you have some extra pumps in there, and then on the next corner where you have to slow down, you have all your boosts available again, and so you don't need to use that many boosts if you have a bender on your bike set. Let's see, what else do we need? We need a score breaker. Some of the slaloms are on the road, so a score breaker with skilled. Next to that, in this case, mostly you're gonna do that with a bike. You're gonna have to do some acceleration you need in there, so maybe some frenetic or some pure next to it, as long as you have a score breaker with skilled. Score breaker always needs to have skilled next to it because that gives you extra percentage next to the ×2 that the score breaker gives you to give more points. So that is like the first score breaker set that you need. Now, off-road skills sometimes gonna have to be done with a street race as well, because the street race bikes might actually be faster than in this case what I showed you earlier. For instance, the slalom, I did it with a mini, or you can use off-road vehicles in some of the escapes. Although they are off-road, you want to have some sort of muddy set. So that is the third Nitro Chemist set that you're going to need, which has muddy on it. Muddy 66% with a Nitro Chemist set. Next to that, you want to have some pure, some extra pump. Always these nitro parts are always going to come back. Nitro boost, nitro refill. In other words, pure and extra pump. You can put some frenetic in there as well if you want to have short boost, or if that is the first thing that comes available with recalibration, then just put on the frenetic, as long as you have the muddy on it. Don't lose speed off-road. This thing is faster than an off-road vehicle, so you're gonna have to use this. And then you can also combine it in such a way that you have this thing on it. A score breaker set with skilled for doing slaloms off-road, muddy for doing slaloms off-road and not losing speed. So that is like the fifth set that you're gonna need in. You're not always gonna need it, but there will be times where you're gonna need it. A score breaker with skilled and muddy. If you have a full set, which I also don't have, as you can see, I'm working on it. I play some PvP. You win some score breakers. You recalibrate them to skilled, muddy, and then you can sort of make a set in that way. I'm missing 3 parts. I'm still working on that, and that will be my 5th set. So 3 Nitro Chemist sets, 1 for the cars, 1 for the bikes on the road, and 1 for the bikes off-road. A score breaker set to do slaloms on the road, and a score breaker set with muddy to do the slaloms off-road. 5 different sets. At one point or another, you're gonna have to use one of those sets. That is for the street race. If we go to the drift, it's pretty simple. You don't need any set at all. In drift, there is only one bonus that matters, and that is slippery. Because the slippery will give you more points in the drift event itself, because it works with a multiplier, and the slippery is gonna give you more multipliers. In this case, I have a slippery 123 because I have slippery 14. That is the only thing that you need on a drift car. The set bonus totally doesn't matter if that is a score breaker or a nitro chemist. Drift is the only discipline where the set bonus does not matter at all. The only thing you need is a slippery, in case you don't lose the multiplier. If you do lose the multiplier, if you hit a wall or something, you also want to have hot head next to it, because that makes the multiplier go up faster again. So if you lose it, it goes up faster because of the hot head. If you don't lose it, you don't need it, because you get the slippery 14, you get the maximum multiplier. The points you will not get, because the points will stay on 0, seeing you do not lose the multiplier. And at the end of the run, then you will get your points that you have gained, 3,000, 4,000, 4,500, multiplied with the 173 maximum multiplier, and then you will get 6, 7, 800,000 points in the drift event. Other than that, you don't need anything for summits when it comes to drift, that is. So unlike the street race where you need 5 sets, only 1 set needed is that. What car is that? Talking about this one, this is the Mazda RX-7 in drift. Now, I have a score breaker set here. Why do I have that? This is one of these sets that you sometimes can win within the summit. Gold or silver, sometimes you win some parts or a set. This thing will work perfectly. At one point or another, they even repeated this specific summit where you could win this set, so that means I probably have another one. Oh yeah, there it is. Also here, same story. Hot head slippery with the score breaker, but you don't need all that. As long as you have slippery 14, that's the only thing that matters. That says slippery 123. Now, slippery 14, 7 times 14 is 98. That's not 123. Just like with all the other stuff. Pilot, icon points. Also, slippery is in this menu, and you will get 25 extra. So 98 from the slippery on the vehicle, 25 from here is 123. Maximum multiplier on a drift vehicle is 173 because the car itself comes with some sort of base multiplier of times 50. So that's where the other 50 comes from. But that's it when it comes to drift. Now, if we go to the next discipline, which is drag, there's only one set that you need, and that's exactly this one. Nitro Chemist with pure and frenetic. All the boost power that you can get, as well short and long, put together. Short boost is the frenetic, the long boost is the pure. Put it together on one part in combination with frenetic. You have the perfect set. You don't need a score breaker, you don't need a fey magnet or all that. You're not gonna drive around on the map with a drag car, although some people do that, but for summit reasons, you only need this thing. You can use this vehicle with this set, you can use it in certain escapes, you can use it in speed traps, and you can also use it in drag events itself when they are available within the summit structure. Now, if we go back to the summit for a second. We are on the drag, I am very well aware of that. You might want to have a look on the Point Breaker Summit. If you look on the Platinum, oh, but we don't win a car, you sometimes read. No, we do not win a car. But what do we get here on the Platinum? Nitro Chemist, Drag, Nitro Chemist set with Frenetic and Pure. It gives you the perfect set for a drag car. In case you do not have it, you might want to get your hands and effort and time into it. You can just get it from here. You don't need to grind for the parts, you don't need to spend bucks and whatever to recalibrate it. You can just win it from the summit. The only set you need in drag. And indeed, don't try to recalibrate for extra pump on a drag car. First of all, you don't need it. Secondly, you will not find it because it's not in there. So we were on the drag vehicles, which means one more to go in the street racing family, and that is hypercar. Sort of similar as with the street race. You want to have, for instance, the Nitro Chemist set with Muddy on it for off-road skill test. Sometimes the street race bike might be faster, sometimes the hypercar might be faster. Off-road escape or something in that order. These things are faster than off-road vehicles, and with the Muddy they do not lose speed. So if you have a Muddy set on it, yeah, you probably have the perfect off-road vehicle. But if it's like an off-road slalom or something, these hypercars might be a bit less handleable than, for instance, the street race bike, and that's why we also have a Muddy set on the bike. If it's a slalom, you want to have Muddy with a score breaker with skilled. If it's an escape, you want to have Nitro Chemist with Muddy and some nitro parts on it. Next to that, obviously, you also want to have like for instance, this is a set that's more for cruisers or so. This is like the perfect set if you care about level. It has a flame magnet, which doubles your followers. It has popular, which gives you more percentage of followers, and it gives you bugs, which gives you a lot of bugs for whatever it is that happens out there. Popular 42 reached 46.5. Also the 46.5, that comes from the fact that I have a bunch of points on my in the pilot menu on Reach. But this is like the perfect flame magnet set. Not needed for summit, so don't worry about that. Let's see what we have here. Loot digger set. This is not the perfect loot digger set. I'm pretty sure somewhere out there I have one of those as well, but sniffer, don't need it. Next to that, next to the Muddy set, in hypercar you also want to have a normal. This is a set you're gonna find very often in disciplines when it comes to cars and so. Nitro Chemist, pure extra pump. Long boost. The pure extra pump will refill that boost. 66% pure, 75% extra pump. All you need, perfect set for time attacks. Next to the Muddy. Some of the skills, slalom or whatever, normally you're gonna take a bike. Most of the cases, if they are on the road. Sometimes a car might be faster because you can push aside the gates, just like we had before in the off-road slalom that I showed you with the Mini. With a car, you sometimes can push these plastic gates away. If you hit them with a bike, your bike is gonna fly away. So sometimes a hypercar might actually be faster on the road as well. In that case, you need a score breaker with skilled to do slaloms. Also on the hypercar. You can also, for instance, try it with a Formula 1 car. They might be faster on some of these slaloms, but we'll come to that later. In case you want to do that, it's one of the two, more or less, that you need. Hypercar will work fine. If the bike doesn't work, a hypercar will work fine. Not a problem. Don't we need anything else? I don't think so. Just 3 sets here. You could, of course, also go for an off-road slalom. If you want that, you can do a score breaker together with Muddy and skilled. That is a possibility as well, but you don't need it necessarily. If you focus on those sort of sets within street race, they're also the easiest to get within street race, because if you do the PvP, for instance, the race lobby, then you will be able to find all that there, because you're gonna win a bunch of parts over there. That sort of concludes the street family. In off-road, what do we need there? More or less the same, but a little bit less. In such a way, as I said already a couple of times, street race bikes are faster, off-road vehicles are slower. You don't need all of these sets. Just like in street race, in the rally raid, you're more or less gonna need them, but not in the other disciplines. In rally raid, same story. A bike, just like in the street race, we wanna have a bike set. That means Nitro Chemist with Pure and Bender. You might be able, I have like one extra pump in here. All the rest is Pure and Bender all over the place. Also maxed out. Time attacks with a bike, all you're gonna need. For normal time attacks, rally raid events and such, just as in the other disciplines, the normal, let's say, racing set. Nitro Chemist with Pure and Extra Pump and maxed out. What setup do you use for New York? Oh yeah, I will show you that in a second. That is something else that has to do with bugs and such. As this, all you need. In case there is a score breaker, as we shown earlier with the slalom, you can use a score breaker set with skilled, put some Pure and Extra Pump on it. I am third overall in the current slalom in the summit this week with this thing. This set, this vehicle works fine, so you can use it occasionally. It might be that the guy in first place, what is the guy in first place in the slalom using? A hypercar with muddy on it. So it is a little bit faster, but this time, for this skill test, particularly this week, an off-road Mini will do the job just fine. Something like a Mercedes X-Class also works just fine. Last time I had the world record with the Mercedes X-Class on this same skill test. So also that is a vehicle. So you need a score breaker with skills. In some occasions you're gonna need it. It might be competitive with the hypercars or with the street race bikes with muddy. So you need the set. That more or less is it, I think, in rally raid. A Nitro Chemist, you don't need muddy specifically on this because these are off-road vehicles. They are capable of going off-road, so that is not the problem. I do have some other stuff available. For instance, this here, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the normal extra pump 10 and 8, but sometimes you also have these boosted parts. Sometimes in the summit you win a full set of 7 parts. Sometimes you win boosted parts, and that means that one day you will get 3 parts, and then the week after that you will get another 4 parts. Boosted parts, they give you more than normal. This is not something that you can recalibrate, you can only win it through the summit. In this case, the Pure is 9%, the extra percent is 11. That means extra pump 1% more, Pure 1% more. Then that you can recalibrate yourself. As you can see here, the range of Pure is 8% maximum, and I have 9. The range of extra pump is 10%, I have 11. Participating in the summit has its advantages sometimes. You get these sets. Now that's only 1% times 7. So yeah, you get 7% more extra pump, 7% more Pure. You might have a slight advantage compared to people who don't have that. Another reason why you want to go for these yellow boosted parts or sets that you can win in the summit. Although some people are only interested in cars. Go for the sets, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for rally raid. Motocross. These bikes are too slow to do any skill tests. You will always have faster vehicles around, whether it's street race hypercar with muddy or rally raid with the score breaker. You don't need score breaker on motocross. The only thing you need on motocross is some sort of mix of whatever you can put on there. Nitro Chemist you need. If you do the motocross as you should do it with jumps and all that kind of stuff, you might want to have some graceful on it to get a little bit of air rotation. You want to have Pure for sure. What you also can put on is something like this. Also a pretty good one. Pure and ventilated. Why ventilated? Because ventilated, while you're hanging in the air, refills your nitro on a jump, and it refills faster than extra pump. So this set, pure ventilated, is actually a better part than pure extra pump on the nitro chemist set for motocross. So the extra fill, it refills, but the ventilated refills also, and it refills faster. So ventilated is a better part to have on a motocross than extra pump, or a better bonus. But you can mix it up, and that's sort of what I have done here. I have some extra pump, I have frenetic, I have 1 or 2 grace spells on it, I have ventilated on it, 20% ventilated, it's good enough, it will refill. If you, some of the tracks, although a lot of people drive next to the ramps and so, some of the tracks you can't drive and you actually have to jump, ventilated is your way to go. That's it for motocross. You only need that Nitro Chemist set. You don't need any score breaker or anything like that. Rallycross, same story. These vehicles are not fast enough. You will always have faster street race, hypercar or rally raid. Don't need a score breaker. So the only thing you need here, more or less, a race set. Nitro Chemist, pure extra pump. That's it. Also these cars are made for dirt roads and such. Don't need muddy on it for any reason. So only this is the only set that you need in this discipline. Monster Truck. Yeah, we already did a run in the Monster Truck event. What you mainly need here is gifted, because you can score more points from it. So you put a Nitro Chemist set, it multiplies the nitro, so you have some more nitro available during that. And then you can put on some frenetic, some pure, some extra pump, whatever you want. As long as you have gifted within that part, then you're good to go. And you max out the gifted. So in this case, I have gifted 80%, and then a bit of a mix of pure, extra pump, and frenetic works fine. It does the job. As long as you have the gifted, that's the only thing that counts in the monster arena. Of course, like last week, they wanted us to use this thing in some sort of combo event where it was more of a time attack. Yeah, in that case, you might want to have an extra set, Nitro Chemist, pure, extra pump, just more or less the race set. Normal circumstances, you don't need it. The only way you're going to use that monster truck is in the arena. So gifted is the main factor here. And that more or less is it already for the... for now. Somewhere on the end of the skills on the list, there is also hovercraft. We'll come to that. Demolition Derby. What do you need on Demolition Derby? For the Demolition Derby arena itself, you probably want to have something like this. Nitro Chemist set with pure or frenetic on it, and bulldozer. Bulldozer increases the impact that you can have, so you can have more impact. People hit you, you lose, you have less damage than somebody who does not have the bulldozer on it. So this is for arenas, definitely. Of course, sometimes in these summits, they also want you to race with these things on a dirt track or something like that. Then you also want to have some sort of normal race setup, a Nitro Chemist set with pure and extra pump, maybe here or there. I think I have 1 or 2 frenetics in here, just because that was the first thing that I found. But normally you just go for pure extra pump with Nitro Chemist. That is in case we have to use this. But yeah, they already forced them on us one time on an off-road event and one time I think on a rallycross track or so. So you want to have that second set around in case they want you to do a time attack with it. But for normal Demolition Derby events, you only need the bulldozer pure combination with the Nitro Chemist. That's it. Don't need a score breaker, just like with rallycross and motocross, these things are too slow to do any sort of skill test with it, so don't worry about it. Nitro Chemist will do. I would go for 2 sets. If you want to see the perfect loot digger set, here you have it. Gold Finder 42% and Lucky 178%. Don't need that for the summit, but this is like a maxed out loot digger set. That's gonna give you better quality of parts, and it's gonna give you more parts from certain events. If you do an activity within the game and you're looking for parts, you're gonna get like 2-3 parts from a certain event. If you have this set on it, you're gonna get 6-7 parts of it, and it will have better quality in it than you would if you do not have the Lucky on it. So that is like, yeah, Gold Finder Lucky with Loot Digger. That's the perfect Loot Digger set. But for summit reasons, also here, you only need one thing. Nitrochemist, pure extra pump. Simple as that. The race setup, and that is, and you probably, after the update, it's probably the only car that you need, because it's the fastest thing around. The Lamborghini Gallardo. Before it was the McLaren, the Maserati MC12, but that thing doesn't play anymore. In such a way, this thing is a couple of seconds faster on most of the tracks. Other than that, do you need a score breaker? You can do some of the slaloms on the road with a score breaker if you want to, but bike, street race bike or a hypercar or maybe even a Formula 1 car will always be faster. So no, not really. You only need the Nitrochemist set. That's all the touring cards. The Formula 1s, more or less the same. The Nitrochemist with pure and extra pump. I just happen to have 1 or 2 frenetics in here because that is how I ended up with that set. Sometimes you're recalibrating and you find pure or extra pump or frenetic, and yeah, you take whatever it is that they give you to save yourself some bucks and don't recalibrate that much. But normal setup, Nitrochemist, pure extra pump will just work fine. That's the only thing you need. Unless you say, no, I want to do the slaloms with the Formula 1 car because I can't handle the bike, or I cannot get a hypercar to go fast through that thing. Then you also need a score breaker set. They gave us this thing from the summit. Totally useless. They give us a score breaker. It has no skilled, and they put shifty and drift in it. It's one of those sets that you can win of the summits. I think they were sleeping at that week or so. Yeah, shifty and drag bump. I don't think there's anybody out there who uses it. We even tested it for like a crew event, time attack, to see if it would help. Like 2 people with max out drag bump, 2 people with max out shifty. It totally does not help. This drag bump and shifty are totally not used in this game if you are involved in summits or whatever. I don't even know why they're in there. If you get a score breaker set, you want to have skilled on it. So we can recalibrate that if we want, but we don't need that. I probably have another score breaker set here sitting somewhere. Yeah, here I have already a score breaker, but as you can see, it's not even recalibrated with skilled because I don't use it in Alpha GP. I only go with the Nitrochemist set. The Jet Sprint, also here, you do not need a score breaker set. That might sound strange because you have like some skills like boy smashing and so. It's done with power boats. They are bigger boats. They are gonna get more of the boys than the Jet Sprint, so you don't need it. Only thing you need on Jet Sprint, Nitrochemist, pure extra pump, the race set. That's all you need. If you are not that good with power boats, and then of course you can go for the score breaker set with skilled. If you can handle these things a little better than the power boats. That's a possibility, but the power boats will always be better in those skill tests than the Jet Sprint. So you don't need it. You only need the Nitrochemist set. Power boat, on the other hand, you do need the skilled. You want to have it for water slaloms. It will be faster than the Jet Sprint. You want to have it for boy smashing. It will be it's a bigger boat, so it's gonna smash more of these green boys than the Jet Sprint will. So also here, a bit of a mix of everything that I have, but the only thing that matters, score breaker, skilled 75%. That's the only thing you need. Next to that you can put some pure, some extra pump, some frenetic. It all doesn't matter as long as you have score breaker with skilled. Of course, next to that. Also the race setup, Nitrochemist, pure and extra pump. And then I even have another Nitrochemist, I think, which we won from the summit. That also has pure maxed out, and it has Let's have a look. Are they boosted? I think they were boosted or something. Yeah. The rich is boosted to 4.5% instead of 3 maximum. So yeah, we kept this set because it gives you more bucks. As you can see, 57.2% more bucks from any event that I do if I use this boat in this set. But you don't need this, eh? You need just pure extra pump like I had on the other boat. Hovercraft, yeah. Hovercraft is a bit of a tricky discipline. You want to have pure extra pump, and that is because it's the only thing you're gonna get. Unfortunately, extra pump refills, just like in the motocross with the ventilated. There is something called drifty, and drifty refills while you're drifting, and it refills faster than the extra pump. But here you have a little bit of the piss pot that the devs decided at one moment or another that they were gonna take away that drifty out of the system. And that means that in the beginning, some of the players could get their hands on the drifty and they have pure drifty combination, and their refill goes faster, which means they have more pure and more nitro power in general available, and their bar is almost always full. They can go faster. So they have nitro chemist with pure and drifty, but you cannot get the drifty anymore. So best shot you can do is in case you do not have the drifty, you go for nitro chemist, pure and extra pump. Over time they have made some changes on the drifty. I believe that normally when you're drifting and turning and using nitro, it all didn't matter, it all refilled. What I believe now is that when you are using the nitro, the refill doesn't work anymore on the drifty. So only when you are not using nitro, the drifty will refill your boost. If you are using nitro, it will no longer refill at the same time. That's what it did before, which made it even worse. So now they balance it out in that way a bit, but it's still, yeah, they just need to get that drifty back into the game so that everybody has the same parts. Pretty simple. The drifty is in the game, for instance, in Jet Sprint or so you can find it, maybe even also in Powerboat, but they're taking it away in the hovercraft, which is a bit of a problem. So as a new player, you're not going to find the drifty anymore. You just go for Nitro Chemist Pure Extra Pump, which more or less leaves us with the planes. As also mentioned before, air race planes are faster than aerobatic. You don't need a score breaker on this thing. So the only thing you need is some sort of pure combination with magnificent. Aerobatic is magnificent, sort of like the slippery on the drift and the gifted in monster trucks. You want to have magnificent on this thing because it gives you more scoring in aerobatic events. Also here, sometimes the devs decide like, oh no, but we're gonna put you in an aerobatic on a rally race track in some sort of combo event in the summit. Yeah, then you just want to have like a nitro chemist with pure and extra pump. But if not, just make some combination of nitro chemist with magnificent, and then next to that, you put a few pures in it, you put a few extra pumps in it, a bit of a mix of everything, as long as you have magnificent. In aerobatic, magnificent is the only thing that more or less counts. In case they want you to use the vehicle in some other time attack, okay, then you might need another nitro chemist set. Then we come to air race. Since these things are faster than the aerobatics, you do want to have a score breaker set in this discipline, and you of course make it skill to 75. Next to that, some pure, some extra pump, it will work fine, it does the job in all the aerobatic events and so on. That's for the score breaker. The nitro chemist set, let's have a look, where do I have that? Over here, I think, yeah. In the beginning we were flying around with nitro chemist set with perfectionist and gateway. The gateway refills your nitro. Also here it refills it faster than the extra pump. So we replace the extra pump with gateway. So we get a nitro chemist with pure and gateway. In the beginning we had perfectionist, but that turned out to be not that handful within the set. So we replaced the perfectionist with pure and don't use the perfectionist anymore. So we just have a pure gateway combination. That is for air race events. You can, of course, if you don't have that, you can just go for a pure extra pump combination. But the gateway refills a little bit more. If you get a perfect gate within that event, it refills faster, sort of like the ventilator on the motocross. It's a bit faster than the extra pump. And the perfectionist, if you're not that good with planes, and you can't get that perfect within the gates that you have to fly, then you can use perfectionist. The perfectionist gives you, let's say, a little bit room for error. If you have perfectionist on it, you don't need to be that close to the perfect angle to go through the gates. The perfectionist, you just can fly a bit away from it and you will still get it in a way. But if you're okay with the planes, then just replace that perfectionist with pure, and the gateway you're gonna keep. And that more or less does it for the summit. Also here score breaker, of course, because this is the fastest plane. Don't need a score breaker in aerobatic, but you do in air race. Helicopter, we can't go into performance. As I said, this is not a discipline, at least not at this moment in time. Maybe over time they decide to do so, but so you can't go in, you can't put parts in here. This thing comes with a level 50 and that is it. Other than that, you also have no pro settings on it, so you have to fly this thing as you get it. So yeah, that is not related to the summit. You never have to use that, at least not at this moment in time. I have no idea if they have intention to make that. And that sort of covers it all. What do you need to play the summit? Yeah, that's quite a lot. You need a bunch of summit sets. But once you have these sets, like I have them here now, you are done and over with. I mean, you don't need to grind anymore. You have these sets. You can take them off, put them on another plane or boat or whatever it is that you need it on. As long as you have these sets in all these different disciplines, you are good to go. And you can participate in the summit. If you have these sets around, don't worry about getting platinum. You don't even have to be that good. You should be able to get into the top 3000. If you can't, with all these yellow sets, can't make it into the top 3000, then you need to work on your driving, on your flying or whatever, but then there is something definitely wrong. If you participate in all the events, if you have all the yellow sets, you can easily get into the platinum. All those people out there who can't make it, either they don't put in the effort, they don't care, they don't have the necessary parts. It's some reason or that they cannot make it into the top 3000. If you know what you're doing with the right sets, the right vehicles, you are always into the platinum. And that, more or less, 2 hours and a half later, concludes that this game is pretty much fun to play, especially if you're a bit into summits and so. But yeah, it is a bit of a grind to get certain sets. The recalibration is not super, but other than that, it works just fine, as long as you know what you're doing. If you come here with no score breaker, you're gonna have a quite some time and trouble in those skill tests. You cannot score that high. If there is, for instance, something like an aerobatics and a slalom and then maybe even a drift event, and you have like 3 events which are based on score, and you don't have a score breaker, or the slippery on the drift car, yeah, you're gonna have some issues then, because you cannot score enough points compared to what other people are doing, because they do have put in the time and the effort to get all those sets. Occasionally during a promotion of some sort or whatever, you will find some sort of boosted events. That means if you fly out there, you will find the live boxes will have better and more parts in it. All those kind of stuff, they will be announced on the website. You can find all the links during the stream that I posted there. On the website, they will let you know about it in the news every week and so on. And then you can get better parts, and that usually is a week or 2 weeks with boosted events. If those boosted events are about, then you also want to have some other stuff around, and that is, let's say, the maxed out snipper set. You want to have that on a plane, preferably on the fastest plane, so I would say go for air race. If I can find it. It's always a matter of where have I put it. Like I said, you can take up these planes. It's probably here it is. You want to have this thing around. The life reward sniffer, collector max out to 8% and sensor max out to 10%. The life reward sniffer set bonus multiplies the life reward density by 2. The collector gives you an increase of frequency, and the sensor gives you an increase of the radar to detect these boxes. If you have this set and you have it maxed out on all over the place, you have collector 63.5, sensor 85 with a life reward sniffer, and then you fly around and that thing will start flashing and beeping the whole time because you find boxes left and right and all over the place. Now, if we go back to the summit for a second. And you are a new player. You see that over here we have something called Santa Cruz. Christmas time. More than likely they are going to do somewhere in that area or around New Year or something. They might do like some sort of boosted event. Because I find it very strange that what do you win in ups and downs? An air race legendary set, 7 parts, has live sniffer on it, collector on it and sensor on it. It gives you the perfect set to find all those light boxes out there. So more than likely, you pick up this set here, somewhere around Christmas time, they will have a boosted event where you can use that set. It will pop up all the live boxes, they will be super boosted, and you will get your yellow parts easily within a week or 2 weeks that they do with the event to find your parts. Don't need to grind for it, you can just win it here. Try to get the gold medal in the ups and down summit. You get the perfect set to find the boxes. And as Thomas says over there, indeed put as much gold finder on the parts as you can get. How does this live reward thing opens? Let's see if we can find one.
Word is there's some exciting new stuff waiting for us back at HQ. Been there like forever. We should check it out.
Not the right plane. Where did we have it on again? This one? Nope. The extra plane, right? Yep.
What stuff's on?
No, we are in Los Angeles. There are not that super many boxes about, but we'll see if we find one. No, they are not boosted now. If we find a box. Should have gone to Miami, there are definitely boxes there. You can also go a bit higher, 200, 250 meters. Gives you a wider range to detect it all. If they are boosted, this thing, as you see, it's already popping So, it's beeping. We immediately found one of these boxes because of our plane. Let me think, where do I have that? I have somewhere a perfect loot digger set. Here we have it. We found a box with our plane. That doesn't mean you have to open it with your plane. You can open it with whatever it is that you want to upgrade your vehicle. And if you have some gold finders around, put them on there. If you open that box with gold finder on it, you're gonna get more parts than you normally would. This is a purple box. In normal circumstances you get like 1 or 2 parts of them. What do we get now? 5 or 6. It includes even a yellow. Just because we have the gold finder on here, it does help you. Let's have a look. What do we pick up? 5 parts indeed. So we want a purple one. We want even a fan magnet with poplar. Pretty good. Recalibrate the other affix to box and you have like a perfect part to drive around to get some levels. Of course, if you do not have this set, put some... no, the loot digger has no effect. I just happen to have my gold finder maxed out here in this loot digger set. As long as you have... even if you have like some pisspot parts, but it has loot digger... it has gold finder on it, which is this thing over here. It's the circle with the arrow inside. The circle without the arrow is lucky. That increases the loot quality, but the gold finder increases the loot drop. So you will get more parts if you have gold finder on it. Now, of course, if you have a set like this, you get like the whole. If you open that purple box, normally 2, maximum 3 parts you get from it. We got 5 now, including a yellow one, although it was only a purple box. And you can detect the boxes easy with that live reward sniffer out there. What is the perfect set for grinding? If you need levels or if you need money, you're gonna have to want to get the perfect flame magnet set. Let's see, where do I have it? Good question. On one car or another? Oh, here it is. This one has a flame magnet. It has poplar and it has rich. In this case, no, it just maxed out. It's not boosted or anything. So it's rich 3%, poplar 6% on all 7 of these parts. And I happen to have it on a... So that gives me 3 times 3%, 7, that's 21%. So if you put this thing on, and then you go to your pilot menu, go to the icons. On the left here, you can reset your page. If you reset that, I'm not going to do it now because then I have to go one by one put all these parts on. If you reset, then you have all these 25 pointers. They go on top there. And then you put it all back on, and you put it all on rich. If I take off, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 I have. That's 225 extra on top of the 257 that I already have. Then I have 400, almost 500 points on rich, which gives me already 50% more money. If I then use that vehicle, that Citroën in this case, where I have the set on, you can use also, if you have the set on some other set, street race or whatever, you can also use that. On top of the 50% that we can get there, in my case, because of all the icon points that I have, you get the 21% from this box fame magnet set. And if you then do something like New York, you're probably going to get around 520,000 bucks from it. And on top of that, you're probably going to get like 100 or 120,000 followers because of the fame magnet and the poplar. So in case you want to level up, this is the set to get. In case you want to get some extra money, put everything on the pure, on the rich, and in your pilot menu, and just if you do New York with this car, you're going to get around 500,000. What does New York mean is that the street race hypercar. You go to New York, also always make sure, change the difficulty, get more money from it. 315,000 you get from New York. It's 35 minute race. It's not a race because there are lots of shortcuts available. You can drive in reverse and you still beat the AI. They are 2-3 minutes behind, even in ace mode. And you put on the ridge in the pilot. You can put on the ridge on all the parts that you have on your car. You get around 520,000 bucks from it. If you do that 2 times, that's 1 million in an hour. If you need money, that's the way to go. And that more or less covers it all. We went a lot over the affixes because it is probably the most important thing, especially if you're involved in summits and so. It's the most important thing in the game. Next to that, as I mentioned before, the pro settings as well. Always go in here, press F9 and change the settings according to what you want them to be. In this case, pretty default, I think. Yeah, don't even have the camera or anything. This thing is pretty much default, so I haven't changed anything on it because I haven't driven this thing that much. But even some of the default settings work perfectly. Let's see how this thing drives. But in most cases, this thing is pretty stable, I must say. In most cases that thing is gonna slide or whatever, so you're gonna have to adjust your pro settings. Next to the affixes, second important thing in the game is pro settings, no doubt about it. All those people sliding about all over the place in PvP, take a look on your pro settings. Although in PvP you drive with green parts, you still drive with the settings that you have. Now what we haven't mentioned is like linearity and dead zone. That's mostly because I'm a keyboard player and I cannot change it. But of course also there you can make some changes in case you play on a gamepad or controller. Kinda okay, but it needs some changes here and there. It's a bit stiff. So then you go into the pro settings and you change a few of these sliders and such, and till you get a setting which is preferable for you. But yeah, as I said, I play on the keyboard. That means that if I go into options and I go into controls, I cannot change anything here. As the word says here, controller fine-tune, the whole menu is made for controllers. Keyboard player cannot change anything here. I believe also wheel player, I don't know, maybe Thomas can confirm or deny that. I believe also wheel players cannot change anything here. They have like a separate wheel menu, but not in here. So yeah, we have to deal with what it is that they give us here. So the only way as a keyboard player that you can make some changes is the pro settings, which by default makes it already kind of important. And I think other than that, I have covered it all more or less. I will once more copy all these things here. So what do we have here? We have the website, official website of the game, as you see there. You have the hub, where you can find all kind of stuff related to Summit and such. You can also find a gallery from people, pictures that they have shared. You can find a gallery in there. You can also see Summit results and all that kind of stuff over there as well. If you want to know what all the affixes are and what they actually do, there you go. That is the spreadsheet for the affixes. If you want to know what all these sliders in the pro settings do, and how they actually work and all that kind of stuff, that you can find over there in that Google document. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, you can find also a link on my YouTube if you want to have a look there. My channel trailer has some sort of overall view of the game, and the website, and all the links are also in the description of that. So you can find that on my YouTube channel. There you go. And that more or less covers it. If you want an overview on the summits that we have done or the summits that are coming, at least once I have the information or the names of those stuff. Another Google document with the summits that we have done so far and what you could win over there and that kind of stuff. And also I try to keep that up to date as much as possible. That's a bunch of links that I posted there, but yeah, it might be helpful for somebody out there might be able to use some of it. And that will be it for this one. The Crew 2 for newbies. I saw a lot of new players coming into the game, so I thought let's make a video about that. Also assuming that there might be some other promotion around Christmas time, so we might have some more new players coming in. And they sometimes wonder how does it all work. More or less went over it in this stream. That also means I will stop it here for now. I might be back later with some more advanced stuff. We will see. For now, have a good one, guys. I will see you later.